Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we will discuss the Galatasaray game and preview Ipswich. Got a good lineup for you tonight. I'll introduce the guests first and then Mark can go through the chat. So Alan in America, how are you? All right?
Doing well. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
I'm fine. And Mod Soren, how are you? You muted?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm fine. It's Friday, everything's allowed, right? And
Bloody
Johnny
amateurs.
Green, a regular friend of the show as well now. How are you?
Pucker. Sweet as in that, Adrian.
Right, well said. Right, and Mark?
Yeah, all's good. All's good. Do we have to talk about last night? Or is it?
Yes, we do. Right. Now, Mark, do you just have a lock at the comments? I see we've got 10 viewers at the moment. It's early days at the moment.
Yeah. There's a couple of Mr. Cotton.
Yeah,
do you want to come on, Ben? Do you want to come on, Ben? I can send you the link.
Yeah, you can come on, Ben, if you want to.
Yeah, it depends what you're up to, mate. Just put yes or something in the chat and I'll send you the link.
Come and get depressed with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phil's in the chat as well. Big up, Phil.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I was wondering that. Where has the whiskey gone?
He drank it all. He's drunk it all.
Drunk it last night, didn't he?
Well, yeah. That's understandable, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, Phil. Yeah, big up, mate. No, he's either finished or nearly finished.
Mm-hmm. Big up, Peter. Good friend of the show.
Big up, yes, and for all that you do.
Yes.
Nita.
Good evening, Nita.
Big up, Nita. Ben.
And Tom.
Ben drank it all. Oh, I see.
He's putting it in his coffee.
Neat, probably neat. Tom, big up,
Tom 81, big up, sir.
Lisa, yeah, not becoming a regular. Lisa, good to see you. Okay. Ben says he can jump on for 24. Bring him on. We'll talk to you first, Ben, if you come on.
Yeah, I'll sort it out. I think
send
that's
him the link.
Yeah.
I mean, the only others that I know were coming on were Phil Barnett and Deji if work didn't get in his way. So, yeah. So it's always with guests, it's a bit up and down. You know, people have got busy family lives. So, yeah, I get that. So we're going to the banners, and I'll start with bringing the team up now. Especially as like with the team, guys. I mean, it's easy to be a hindsight critic, but let's be honest in your evaluation. Alan, was you happy or unhappy with this team when you first saw it?
It was a mixed bag. I was actually ecstatic to see Lancashire get his opportunity, get blooded in. And I was happy that Bergvall was getting an opportunity. I was unhappy with Forster. I thought that in a game like this, you need big Vicario. Big Vic needed to be in there, and in hindsight, I think a couple of their goals could have been stopped by Vicario because Forster's very much like just a tree. He did make one great stop, but overall, it was a mixed bag. I think that he possibly could have put out a stronger side. I was hoping for a slightly stronger side against Galatasaray because their team is very good. I mean, Victor Osimhen is one of the main strikers of the world, and Mauro Icardi is fantastic. Dries Mertens is phenomenal. They have a very stacked team. So I was a little surprised that we're playing so many youngsters. I don't know why Destiny didn't get an opportunity. I thought that he should have come in first and maybe sub in Gray at the halftime. But so it goes. But yeah, that's mixed bag.
Soren, Your take on the starting 11? Did you have a different team? My team was different. I'll come to what I picked later.
Yeah, I think same as Alan's just said.
Would you like to answer? Sorry, I'm sorry. Would you like to answer Phil's question to start with?
I've already answered it in the chat. It's down the drain.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah.
My fault.
No, it's all right. Yeah, no, I mean, when I first saw the team, it was like, yeah, it's a fairly strong team. Same as Alan's just said, I would have had Vicario start over Forster, because we said it exactly the same last time he played. But yeah, I mean, look, we were up against a decent team, and it's never ever easy to go there and play. Doesn't matter what team's playing. You know, it's a horrible atmosphere for any team to go into. It's a proper cauldron. So I thought we weren't great, but in hell, for me, it wasn't a disaster neither. You know, it's not the end of the world, the results. I think a few players certainly need to hold their heads up and be counted, and they just didn't. But no, I thought the actual 11 that he named was almost as strong as we could go anyway, other than playing every single first team player, which we knew we wasn't going to do. So, yeah, it was just one of those nights for me.
Right. Johnny, your take on the lineup? Did you pick a similar team to that, or?
Yeah, I picked Forster in goal. It was totally the opposite. I thought Forster is used to the old Celtic games, and you know, I thought he'd be the hard geezer for the squad. But I wouldn't have picked. I don't think I'd have picked the young ones so much. But who else we got to play? If we can't like just change them around a bit. But I was quite happy with that. I thought we'd go in quite strong with that team, especially Forster in goal. I didn't want Vicario in goal for that one, to be honest with you. I thought Forster, he's quite old. He's been there. He's done it, hasn't he? But
Mark, did you pick a similar team to this, or?
Honestly, Adrian, you know me. I can't remember, but what I would have done is what Ange is, because I thought he'd sort of found a winning formula as having the two holders in there. And just having Biss in there, I thought was a bit, especially at a place like Galatasaray in Turkey. You know, I was hoping that, you know, Biss and Sarr or Biss and Bentancur would start because Maddison was anonymous and Bergvall was anonymous. You know, it's easy to say now that we got absolutely smoked, but you know, I thought that Ange had found the winning formula with the two holding players, but obviously not. So,
my take on the starting lineup, I would have gone with Vicario goal. The team I picked actually didn't pick Porro, picked Udogie, so Gray could play on the right. And in my midfield, I did pick Bergvall in my team because when you're going to play him, and although it gets why he's played Basuma and Madison because they haven't had a great deal of game time recently, but I still went Bentancur and Kulusevski. I didn't pick Lancashire. I didn't pick Lancashire up front straight away. I did actually pick Solanke, you know, and I did go with Son and Johnson. But evening, Ben.
Evening.
What was your take on this lineup? Did you pick a similar team or not? And then we'll get into the first half after this.
This team doesn't scream me as a team that wanted to go to Galatasaray and win a football match. We underestimated a team with one of the best front lines in Europe. If you look at that front line that played for Galatasaray, they would get in all but 3 of the Premier League teams in the country. And we played, let's face it, a makeshift back four. We were playing a central midfielder who sometimes plays at right back, at left back. We were playing a high line that was so high, Snoop Dogg was interested in it. And no protection for young kids that have never played in an atmosphere that's fierce. Then not many players have played in an atmosphere. No Tottenham players ever played in an atmosphere that fierce before. Because that was the first ever time we've ever played Galatasaray in a game of football, ever.
Oh, was it? Was it?
First ever time we've ever played Galatasaray.
Welcome to
in a game
hell.
of football.
Yeah.
In Turkey, just for,
I didn't
you
know
know,
that.
like, give you facts. We've only played 3 times against Turkey's opposition before,
And
and
we
each
lost
game
3
actually.
of them.
It was all against. No, it was against Besiktas. We won 1, lost 1, and drew 1.
Oh, okay.
So-
Do we
It
think,
was all
do we think
against
that
Besiktas.
match?
Yeah, I researched
Do we
it.
think that match was just sacrificed for the Premiership this weekend? Because
No.
If it is, then the manager should hang his head in shame
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
because
I mean, we're basically qualified for the next round anyway.
no, we're not.
So
No,
There are 3 games left, Soren. We got 3 games left. We need to win
4.
2 of them. We need to win 2 of them.
4
2
games
more
left.
games left.
We need to win 2 of them to guarantee a spot in the top 8, which gets you through to the
Yeah, so
knockout
we've
round.
got to win 2 out of 4, which that's probably one of the hardest games we've got to play. And
we could have won that game. We could have
yeah,
won that
I'm
game.
not disagreeing with you, but I just wonder more whether the priority was this weekend rather than Thursday night, because knowing we have still a very good chance of going through and knowing we've got a depleted squad where half our first teamers might not be playing. So the ones that we've got left were probably the ones that we need for Sunday.
For me, Ange talked about a lot how he knows the history of the club, and he's talking about Bill Nicholson and stuff like that. Bill Nicholson would be ashamed of that performance last night.
Yeah.
What is one thing that Bill Nicholson always said? It is a privilege to play in Europe. If Tottenham Hotspur are not in Europe, we are nothing. And we showed that game. I call it a lack of respect.
Yeah. You're bang on there, Ben. You know what, right?
I'm going to get pelters. I've been getting pelters all night, Johnny.
You don't pick the team, Ben. Ben, you don't pick the team. It's not your fault.
The European
It's not your fault,
stage,
we lost.
we should fucking field a proper fucking squad.
In Europe, yeah.
Yeah. You know, we
I'm
should
just
stand
gonna
there
change
and
that
stand
spot.
up.
Who's he
boys been
changing?
there.
So who's he changing in there in the back 4?
Well, it's not just that, Soren. It's the entire team. We played with nothing in the middle. I feel really sorry for Lucas Bergvall because I really like this kid. He was like a lamb to slaughter last night.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a lamb. He was playing against 2.
He has been in every match we've played.
Yeah, but he was playing against 2 seasoned professionals in Lucas Torreira and the other guy.
Who's it? So when we
Dries
going to play him?
Mertens.
So when do we play him if we don't play him in these matches? Because he's not going to play in the Premier.
Ipswich. Play him against fucking all the little shit teams in the league.
Yeah, Ipswich.
And then when we lose in the league, everyone moans about that as well.
Oh,
No, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I've said for ages, give me 17th in Europa League and I'm more than happy.
And Cup.
As long as-
Right.
I don't want to send this, but we don't have to play either all the kids or all the seniors. You can mix and match.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you, Ben.
For example, we'll get to the substitution. Hopefully,
it comes down to
you don't take off your entire attacking lineup and put everyone in the middle of the park. You take off one, you put on there, then you take off this one and see if it works. It seemed like there was
Okay, let's get into this then. Alan.
Yep.
5th minute. Galatasaray scorer, which is Ultra Madison giving away a 3 kick 1-0. Couldn't have been a worse start for us, really. Yeah.
Well, that first goal was a worldie. I mean, he volleyed that thing in. And Vicario, I don't think any goalie stops that shot from outside the box.
Vicario
Yeah. Do you really think? I didn't think he would.
Forster got a hand to it. He moved his feet too slowly. He got his hand to it. It was too slow.
I didn't see him get the hand to it. I just saw how good that volley was.
He certainly got a hand to it.
It all stems from, I think, our back line was weak. I think this was the wrong back line for Galatasaray. It really was. We're hearing about I read about Dragishin's agent making all kinds of claims, but it scares me a little bit the way Dragishin plays because he doesn't have any control once he has the ball. And he did that a bunch of times throughout the game, giving the ball away, bad passes, stuff like that. Matt, the refereeing was also very weird for me because
He was
they
weak.
were very.
It
Was weak, yeah. They were very physical, which I like, but I in today's game, it just doesn't seem like that's the level of physicality that's allowed anymore. And our players were kind of like, what? I constantly up in arms, like, what's going on? I'm getting knocked down here, and no one's calling anything. But then he calls that random penalty, free kick. So it was very up and down with the refereeing. It did have me nervous at the first 5 minutes. We give away a goal. It did not set the tone for the rest of the game.
Oh, for sure, Alan. The main problem is, though, we played a team that was seasoned European professionals. I know Mauro Icardi went off with a torn ACL at the end of it, which is a nasty one. But
yeah.
But when I was on the watch along last night, I thought he'd just fallen over again. Every time a Spurs player went near a Galatasaray player, fall to the floor, roll over 3 times, gets the referee to make the decision for you. And it seems I know we want to do things the so-called right way, but in a hostile environment, when you know the entire crowd hates you, hates your guts.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to stop giving them reasons to fall on the floor and roll over 3 times. You've got to stop it because they wanted the referee to make that decision. It was an 19-year-old boy, sorry, for example, with the red card.
Right.
We gave them that decision. The moment he got that yellow card and you saw they were targeting him, hook him off.
I'm going to come to that later, that sending off, because I've got something to say about that. Prior. Soren, the back 4. I mean, apart from playing Udogie in his right position on the left, there isn't really much we could have changed with the back 4. You could have changed the goalkeeper, could you? Really?
It's the only change I would have done is the goalkeeper. The back 4 is basically the only choice we had other than Udogie. But I mean, he's not playing great. Porro was absolutely shocking yesterday. I mean, everybody keeps piling on to Gray. And he was by far not the worst of that back 4. He was probably the best of the back 4.
The best of the back 4.
But he's the easy target because he's the young kid. Now, Porro was a seasoned defender, which is what he's supposed to be. I know he's an attacking defender, but I mean, they were running past him like he wasn't even there. And half the time when it was at the back, he wasn't there. And when he was there, for Osimhen's headed, I think it was Osimhen who headed the goal. Porro was just looking at him and so was Dragishin. And it was just like, I just didn't get our back 4. But I come to, obviously this is where what Ben was saying earlier, where the midfield was weak. It was weak. I mean, look, as much as we were saying, thinking he was going to be great because of the pre-season, he has really looked lost. He hasn't looked like the player we know he's going to become. And I'm not slating him because he's a great talent and he's just lost his way. Whether it's just all sinking in that he's come to a big team and on top of him, I don't know. But and let's not forget, like everybody's saying, we were up against their first team, and this is a good team whether they're playing at home or not. So. 3-2 against that team when it could have been a hell of a lot more. I don't think there's much shame in it other than the fact of if we'd have played our first team, and I mean proper first team, we would have won that probably. But we didn't on the night, and we've got our back 4 is decimated. We haven't got the experience in depth for the back. As much as I think we can sit and blame either the kids or the players, we do also have to look at Ange himself again on this situation because
Absolutely.
he did get it wrong.
It's a question for the panel, though, isn't it, Soren? Because I mean, Adrian and I don't know if you went to the game, Johnny, but Adrian and I both went to the City game and the Villa game. We were noticeably our back four against those two teams was noticeably deeper. Like, especially against City. Why is it we play for 2 games where we actually played quite well? We played very well against City in patches, and we played very well against Villa for the second half. Why change it back to a system that doesn't work?
Why are we
so deep away? Why are we playing deep at home, but then deciding, you know what, we're away from home, let's go really high up? It seems like the system we're playing away from home would work at home, and the system we're playing at home
would work away.
Yeah. And
I'll tell you what, Ange's was a strange one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like that back four just shit the bed. You know what
I was saying this. I was saying this to Adrian backstage, right? I said, I thought Ange had sorted it out. We were dropping that little bit deeper. We were playing 2 holding players, even at home. Against City and Villa, there was 2 holding players in there, and then all of a sudden we go to basically what's hell on earth.
On his own.
Hell on earth.
On his own.
Yeah, and they play Biss on his own, and Madison.
Fantastic, by the way.
Yeah,
I'll give him his props. He was fantastic.
Yeah, right. But he plays Biss on his own, right? Biss on his own, right? Madison, who was anonymous, and a kid, Bergvall, who got roasted. You know, I thought, because, you know, I'd sort of come round that Ange ain't that bad. He's learning, you know. I thought, but all of a sudden he lets me down again and just does complete nonsense.
I mean, the only thing I think
unpredictable, Mark.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I think with last night is whether it really did get to Bergvall, because he really did seem as though he didn't want to be there last night. You know, everything was rushed. Everything was sort of just not right with him. And we know he's a better passer than that. We know he's a better player than that. And he just didn't have his composure last night again. And, you know, this is the second or third time that we've said this. And, you know, you've got to question Maddison why. But then, again, Sonny was terrible last night. But this is the problem.
The midfield wasn't passing him the ball, Soren, because they
got bossed.
We weren't able to control the midfield, which means the runs that Sonny and Johnson weren't able to make because they're so busy dropping deep to cover the midfield. So when we did eventually get the ball, they're in no man's land. The moment Johnson did get the ball in the attacking third, goal, bang, that's it.
You see, but I mean, the thing is with that as well is when you watch Johnson and Sonny last night, there was no help from them for the back four neither. You know, I mean, they weren't closing down that well. I mean, Johnson weren't closing down very much. Sonny didn't seem to be closing down very much. Obviously, then you've got Maddison and Bergvall weren't doing a lot of closing down. Bissouma looked lost in the first half. So the whole of the front lot just were not playing together, which then makes the back four look even worse because they've got absolutely no cover. And when you're away at Galatasaray, the first thing you should be doing, in my mind, and this is where Ange, I think, got it wrong, is you should almost be playing a very defensive team and go for that break.
We are, mate. It's who we are. We don't believe in
it. But the last couple of games when we beat City and we beat Thingy, we were kind of playing that on the break again. And this is where you were saying earlier that when we play at home, we seem to be getting it right. And when we're playing away, and that's what I couldn't understand last night. When you looked at the team, it just didn't scream as though there was going to be any help from the front 5-6 for the back four. And when you've got 2 or 3 players running down each wing, that tells you that your wingers aren't being effective and they're not coming back to help. And that's the problem we have, that when if we do not close down from the front, this system does not work.
I believe, look, my take, I believe Ange picked a team he believed could win the game because you're the manager of the team. You've got to do that and believe that they can perform. They didn't. The problem is with our squad is we don't have enough oven-ready, proven players. So when you rotate, and he needed to rotate, you've got to rest players. We don't know if any of the other players are in the red zone or whatever. We're never given all the information, are we? And then you've got an issue with, like, although Davies and Dragerson were poor, Dragerson would need to develop an understanding, even when Davies has gone, by playing quite a few games with Romero and quite a few games with VDV. And now we've got two players there. And how often has he played with Davies? Not at all. Right? And he's been hit.
They have been very good, Adrian. Against City, against Villa, they were excellent. Because Dragishin is an old school Italian style centre-back. Get the ball.
His positional play, I'll come to it. His positional play is still questionable. And like I say, before you really settle in, everyone expects all new players to hit the ground running when they're given a game chance because there's no patience. But I don't judge a player till after at least a season, myself personally. There's a player in there, obviously, right? He's good in the air against them games, very good in the air. His positioning at times is questionable, and it is questionable because, and
he's 22, Adrian, as well. We have to forget. Remember, he's a big lump, but he's 22.
And then you've got the midfield. Like I said, I would like to have seen it been a bit stiffer than it was. Because Maddison in an away game now is looking a bit suspect. Because when you've got to dog it out, he hasn't got the bite to help you win a midfield battle. And if you don't win the midfield battle, you lose the game. And that's what happened yesterday. So Bergvall, who is the poorest I've seen him, right, yesterday. There's a player in him. I can see there's a player in him. But, out of the young kids, Gray is outshining everyone. And I'm going to move in. I want to move on to we'll stick with you, Ben. 18-minute Gray, excellent deep cross to Johnson. That was a lovely touch off of Johnson to Lancashire as well. It was that wasn't an handball goal. It was a real good goal, yeah?
I wouldn't call it an handball goal because handball was pass the ball, try and walk it. That was an old school football goal. Long ball up the top between centre-back and full-back. Johnson uses his pace to get in behind. It's an old school tap-in. It's what we like to see.
Yeah.
We need more of that. This is when we come back to it works against Villa. It works against Manchester City. Why did we go back to... We are a really good side when we counter-attack, and that was a counter-attacking goal. We broke very quickly. Long ball over the top. Quick ball in. Back of the net. That was an old school counter-attacking goal. Hit them quickly, hit them with pace, hit them with quality. Bish, bash, bosh, back of the net. It's 3 passes instead of pass this guy, pass this. But it was a great thing to see Archie getting a pre-assist because I think this guy is a really, really good footballer. I'd love to see him playing. I'd love to see him play in his proper position, which is, of course,
midfield.
As a midfielder, because
we need to see him there because, for Leeds, he played 30 games at fullback, about 3 as a number 10. They did utilise him. He played in the middle. He bossed the Chelsea game when he played against Chelsea for Leeds. He bossed that game, and even though he's played at left back, right back, centre back, he got bullied in one of the Bayern Munich pre-season friendlies. He did get bullied in one of them, but he's been okay in those positions. You wouldn't rave about him, but he's held his own. And so he's shown that the step up from the champion...
He's not there yet. But
no, he's not.
How can you expect an 18-year-old who sometimes play right back to be good as a left back? It's a completely... It's like speaking Spanish to speaking Italian. They're both Latin-based languages, but they're completely and utterly different. Playing left back and playing right back is especially in an Ange or whatever the Ange system is, because the idea is for when we've got the ball, the 2 centre backs to drop back, you've got 3 in front of them with the 2 full backs and the deep line 8, and then you've got the 2 people in front of them.
Yeah,
so
he is.
Is he playing central midfield? Is he playing left back? Is he playing midfield? When I was 18, the only thing I knew is what beer do I want in the evening? What am I watching on the telly? And what type of chicken nuggets do I like? Not I've got to play
as well, Ben.
This and I've got to play that. do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to, it's impossible for a young mind to in that situation with that pressure on you. We need to simplify the game for him because I think he's a very good footballer, but I think he's being hung out to dry in this system. I think we just need to say, right, Archie, you're a number 8. Play him in the number 8 position. Square pegs, square holes. Round pegs, round holes. Triangle pegs, triangle holes.
He's 6'2" like Bergvall. Good physicality. He's quick on the ball. He's got vision to put a cross like that in. He's got the vision. He's got pace to make recoveries. When I watched him play in the championship before I come to him, I thought, yeah, he made me sit up. I thought this kid's got something about him. He's not going to be as sexy as a creative number 10 like an Ericsson or a Maddison on form or something like that. Or even Bergvall. We hope Bergvall's going to turn it tonight, otherwise we get rid of him, right? But Alan, I want to move on because I don't think 31 minutes, Dragerson, poor tackle. Osimhen in and scores 2-1.
Oh, yeah. Look, Dragerson had a shocking game. And unfortunately, I've not been super impressed with his ball handling. I don't know if it's because he's got less confidence because he's got Ben Davies there next to him, or is it because he's just not confident in his ability to move the ball? But I can see why Ange hasn't played him as much, because Ange expects our defenders to do a lot of passing, and Dragic is not someone that will be doing a lot of passing. He'll kick the ball out, he'll head the ball, he'll bully people in the box, whatever, but he's not a ball handling defender. The Osimhen goal was avoidable, and he gave it away. So not much else to say. He was just shocking.
I think the Ben Davies pass to him wasn't fucking spot on either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're passing the ball to him, and he's got 2 men closing him before the ball even hits to him.
I've noticed this a lot.
Davies, mate, he does that a lot, mate.
When we try this playing out the back stuff, there's some passes, and you think, why pass it to him when you can see like he's got 2 or 3 people near him? Like honestly, virtually every game that I watch, obviously on the TV, and like Spurs are playing, like it's like hide behind the sofa stuff. Honestly, so some of that flapping around at the back, it's just kick the thing long, innit? Just get it out of there.
It's past the back pass, wasn't it?
You older boys would know this better than me. What old school defending? You never do a square ball when you're getting pressed.
No,
you pass the ball forward.
Yeah.
And when in this system, we're passing the ball sideways. We're giving them time. Pass it forwards.
And if it
is with this sideways passing that it's supposed to bring their team onto you so you can break, and it's just suicidal. I mean, we kind of got it introduced under Jose and Conte, so it's not just an Ange ball thing. But what gets me with it all is we take all those risks at the back, and then we take none at the front. There's no risks hardly taken at the front. It's like you said earlier, but you've got a tippy tappy, pass. And it's like, try a through ball here, or try a through ball there, or a dink over the top. Do something different. You're prepared to do all those passes at the back, where if you lose it, it's probably a goal. If you lose the ball up at the other end, you go win it back. You've got time.
The thing.
I needed a bottle of your whiskey last night, Soren, watching that. But it's a real problem because I left a bottle of your whiskey at my shop. I should have taken it with me. You've been like, right, there it is, everyone. Every time we pass the ball sideways, I'm taking a shot of whiskey.
The thing out the back, it's percentage football. It shows you don't kick long and have a 50-50 ball. It means you keep possession, unless you get caught in possession and things go tits up. But when it works well, playing out the back, talk about the first half against Brighton. It looked slick. But why did it work? Because we moved the ball quickly. When we diver at the back, teams close us down. And then we end up putting a player in a cul-de-sac where he's got very few options of what to do with the ball. He's sort of surrounded, but when we do it quickly, it's like most of our football. When we pass the ball quickly, we are a lot better. We're a lot better.
Very difficult, though, Adrian, wasn't it? Well, that pitch was a very slow pitch. It was a very cut up, very dry. On purpose, it was a drier pitch because they know we wanted to play out the back. So it was a very dry pitch. That pitch wasn't watered that day. That pitch certainly wasn't watered.
This is the normal stuff you get in Europe, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, teams are going to do their utmost to try and disrupt you. And we just never adapted, adjusted. We did nothing. And basically, we just give them the game.
Yeah,
I think the mentality went, Mark.
Yeah, our passing was a joke. I mean, there was a stage we couldn't even string 3 passes together without somebody giving it away.
Right.
Was there ever a stage we had 3 passes linked together except for the goal?
Well,
Soren, prior to the second goal, which you're going to bring the banner up next, Forster, good save from Osimhen. Actually, he must have felt it was like the Alamo yesterday, Forster. Like, he actually made some cracking saves during that game with his legs and all that, Forster for you yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, look, he did make a couple of good saves, but like the big save that he seemed to make was virtually down his throat anyway.
Right.
So he kind of only had to put his hands up, which he's got big hands. But I mean, one of the goals that went in, the ball had hit the back of the net before he'd even started to dive.
Correct.
And look, I think last season or the season before, when he kind of first joined us, he had a couple of decent games, but we all know when you're getting on, and he's a big chap, I mean, getting down to them balls, it's going to be done slowly. I mean, I know when I dive, you might as well drive a bus underneath me before I hit the floor. Don't know.
The only reason to play Fraser Forster is trying to get a WD-40 sponsorship.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's here a year too long now. And what's the point in giving the other lad a 5-year contract if we're not going to start playing him? I mean, he couldn't have done any worse last night. So to me, you start blooding him in. And for me, I don't understand why Forster's there and somebody like Jed Spence isn't, because these games now are just showing how stupid a decision that was. I mean, I know he's injured or whatever at the moment, but it just shows you how stupid a decision it is when we've got to shoehorn Archie Gray into the left-hand side now and then make Porro play, because you could have had, I mean, even if he'd have played last night, you could have still put Spence on the right and let Porro out, because Porro was shocking. But
Spence is ineligible because he's not in Europote squad because we failed.
That's what I'm saying. It was a stupid
I know what you mean. Yeah. Just be clear for the viewers, Soren.
We played Destiny last night at left back, and we could have played Spence at left back at the weekend.
Yeah, but for me last night, I just do not think that Forster should play another game for us if Vicario is fit, because I honestly don't understand why a goalkeeper can't play every match.
Yeah,
I've been saying this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as if they run about a lot, is it?
No, I mean, I get mentally that they have to be switched on, and it's probably a hard game when you just literally stood there, and you've not got as much to do, and you've got to be switched on for everything, and mentally it's maybe draining. I get that, but for me, there is absolutely no reason you don't keep your goalkeeper in there, especially when we haven't got a great backup. But you don't keep your goalkeeper in there to keep some stability for your back four in front of you.
The problem...
Yeah, you're right.
Go on, Alan. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I recall Hugo Lloris pretty much playing all the time. Like, I don't remember him playing, missing a lot of games.
No.
And especially when we were in Europe, it was always Hugo Lloris.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it's different now.
Yeah, Gazzaniga didn't play many games, did he?
Yeah, which is a shame, really. But I've got to jump, boys, unfortunately.
Thanks for coming on, Ben. We'll get you back another time.
No way.
Big up, Ben. Ben, big up,
Mind how
sir.
you go. We're going Cockney. Mind how you go. I'll see you later.
Like a geezer, baked potato.
Yeah.
Get off my land. Get off my land.
Yeah. So unless and the viewers, unless Werner goes in January somewhere, if the contract agreement with Leipzig is amenable to do that, I don't know. Or then you could bring Spence into the squad. The only other hope we've really got is prior to this season we haven't got 4 academy trained players, but to be on the B list you have to have been with the academy for 2 years anyway. So my hope is that a couple of those academy players will have done 3 years by the time we get round to January, because after January transfer window you have to re-enter your Premier League squad and your Europa League squad again, right, after the transfer window, which is right. Whether or not the rules would then allow if 2 of our academy players had now reached the 3 year stage so as we could increase the Europa League squad to 25. I know it sounds complicated, but I'm just trying to think of all these options. Then that might be a big help to us, but it's a long way. We've got a long way to go to January. Right, I want to move on to this bit, right? Who shall I give this to? Soren, 38 minute. Osman gets in between Dragerson. His position again, and Porro position again to score 3-1.
I mean, to me, I think Porro was more at fault than Dragerson in this one. The ball was already over Dragerson. Porro was the one behind Osman, if I've got the right goal, and he did nothing. I just think Porro had a shocking game last night. I don't think, other than the cross, I don't think he really did anything right at all. I think
the assist for Solanke's goal was the only good thing.
Yeah, that's what I say. Other than that, I think that's probably the poorest game I've seen Porro have. And I just think, I don't know. I don't think there's anything you can say about 3 of the 4 defenders that there was a good point in it. You know,
No, there's no positives in that, was there?
No,
So
especially when you more or less considering. I mean, if we're going to give Gray the slight pass because of his age and he's still learning his trade, Porro and Davis definitely don't get it because they're obviously seasoned pros and should know what they're doing. Dragerson, we can kind of, he's only, is he 21, 22? So he's still a lad, and he isn't getting a lot of game time. But so you can kind of say with Dragerson and Davis, they haven't got a lot of game time, so they're a little bit rusty. But they are better than what they showed. Them 3 are better than what they showed last night. They were shocking, them 3. And I can't remember a point in the game where I thought, oh, well done, other than the pass from Porro. That's the only thing he did in the whole game.
it was an horrible watch, wasn't it?
It was. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, at the beginning of the night when you sit there and you think, look, we're going to Galatasaray. We know it's going to be a hard game. We know it's going to be, a bit sort of gun-ho type thing, and, they're going to come at us. And I got that. But, how many times have we said this season that whether it's Ange getting it right or wrong, or whether it's the players just not having any fight in them. And again, last night, the players just didn't have any fight. I mean, we looked shocking until Lancashire got sent off. And then all of a sudden we started to play a little bit. And I know it made some subs and changed the personnel and that, but I just don't get how it has to be such a shock at that point for us to suddenly start playing.
Johnny, your take on that? Do you think Porro's more at fault than Dragerson, or do you think they...
I think the pair of them, between them, it's just they just looked 25% of the 100% they can be. They was just piss poor. No one knew what they was doing.
Yeah. Go on.
Their heads, you could see in their faces that I do think that crowd just scared them. I think their mentality went, especially fucking Porro and Dragusin. Now, I thought Porro would have had a bit of a head on him, being a Spanish geezer and having a bit of front. But
I'll come to my half-time sorry in a minute, but because on that side of the pitch, I mean, when Porro first come in, he was awful against Leicester away and Newcastle away, and he settled in. He's a quality footballer. He's got superb technique. I was highly critical of him, but Mark, 10th time a goal has been scored on the left side of our goal mouth against Leicester, Newcastle, Coventry, Brentford, West Ham, Brighton, Palace, Villa, Galatasaray.
You're going to run out of characters for this. If there's many more.
And we haven't conceded that many goals. In the league, we scored 22 and we only conceded 11. Right? Yeah. I know there's a couple of cup games in here, European games. But I've been keeping an eye on this because I'm wondering, again, positional, fullbacks getting out of position, centre-backs being out of position when we concede in some of these. But 10th time now, I mean, on the left-hand side of our goal mouth, whichever way we're facing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, put it this way.
Sure, it might just be football. I might be looking for something that isn't there. The black cat and the dark room.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a complete coincidence. But to be honest, Adrian, you got to look at our full-backs to start with, the starting ones. We got Porro on one side and Matey on the other. See, I'm useless at remembering things. Destiny. That's him. Thank you. Right. We got Porro and Destiny. They're not even fullbacks. They're wing-backs. They're better going forward than they are defending. And this is what you got to look at. We've got two wing-backs that are now. It's like what Ben was saying. It's the square pegs for round holes syndrome, as usual. Yeah, right. And I thought we'd stopped all that nonsense. Don't get me started on the inverted fullback nonsense, right? I thought we'd stopped all this high line rubbish and the inverted fullback nonsense, but it soon reared its head last night in a place where you don't want it to rear his head. And in his ultimate geniusness, decides, let's invert the fullbacks when we were being overrun anyway. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And so I'll be honest with you, Adrian, that they're scoring down our left hand. Is it our left hand side? Yeah, the left hand side. So that's on Porro's side. He's a darn sight better going forward than he is defending. He's always been shaky defensively, but going forward, that's because he's a wing back. I mean, I've said this and I got laughed at. The back five that we got now, if you chuck the three centre backs in and the two wing backs, that'd be perfect for Conte. But no, we sacked him. We sacked him and we brought a manager in that don't really care about defending. It's just gung ho up the other end and see what happens.
Alan, half-time summary. Spurs punished for giving the ball away cheaply, poor ball retention and lack of composure and bite in the tackle. Lucky to not have conceded more goals. Do you agree with that?
100%. Absolutely. They were just poor. The first half, they were so poor. And I with regard to Porro, he really needed to stick to Victor Osimhen like glue. That problem was, especially like that third goal, he was just open. No one around. Porro way behind him. I don't know why he's doing that. That's the kind of striker that you shut down all game. If it was like Holland or something like that, you basically have to play him right up against the guy the whole game. Bully him. Don't let him get any ground at all. Don't give him any space. But they gave him tons of room. And I guess it's part of it is he's trying to invert and move forward. And it's confusing because this was not the game for that high line. It just wasn't. You just have to look at the front line to see that this isn't the high line game. This was a game. We should have played the way we played against Aston Villa. We would have had much better result, I think. And we needed to put out a strong, more like our first team squad. I'm sure Ange reamed them kind of unfairly because Ange is the one that lined them up and set up the system and everything. So even if they had done better, I don't know that it would have worked. So yeah, they were just poor. With regard to the question, they were very poor the whole first half.
We don't have enough experienced players in the squad, Soren, do we? Let's be fair. They're developing.
Yes and no. I think there are enough, but they're maybe not good enough quality. And I think there's a big difference between those two statements. Now, if you look at the midfield that we picked with Bergvall, Maddison, and Bissouma, and then Sonny and Brennan Johnson, I mean, it is quite an attacking, play-minded set of players. You know, I mean, had they had the ball, in theory, they should have been able to do something with it. But I don't know whether it was the occasion or whether it was the atmosphere or whether they just didn't want to be. I just don't know what it was. But, you know, when you've got what's supposed to be ball players like Bergvall and Maddison, we should have been a lot better than we were. You know, I mean, we know how good Bergvall is probably going to be. We know how good a pass he's got, and he's got that foresight for a pass. We know how good Maddison can be. But the problem is neither of them played well last night. Bissouma, like we've said in the first half, was poor. And yeah, I mean, I just think when you watch our game, when we get into the final sort of third stroke half, all our passes seem to go behind our players. They're not in front. They're not to the feet. They're always behind, and the players got to stop and come back for the ball. It's almost as if our players don't even know how to pass the ball anymore. And it's so frustrating because you watch it and you can see a player suddenly start to make a run, and then whoever has got the ball passes it to where he started from, and it's like, what are you not getting? That player's about to move. You play where he's going, not where he's come from. And it just kept breaking down time after time after time after time. And
they didn't know their arse from their elbow in that first half, did they?
no. But
No.
I mean, as much as where at the beginning we said, you know, Andrew's got a lot to answer for, once they're on the pitch, it's the players.
Yeah, the players have as well.
Them players at the moment, when we are playing shit, they can't put a pass together. I mean, we could put a team up off this panel and actually put more passes together than they probably did last night.
I did notice that. I will admit I did notice that we couldn't string three passes together.
No, it was really bad. The passing, yeah.
Oh, it was terrible. Awful.
I had my head in my hands, so I missed half the game just from going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. We'll go through the chat at half-time after I've promoted the channel a little bit. Yeah, right?
Sorry.
So I just want to say, and then Mark can go through the chat once I've done these things, right? Just to let every viewers know, our shows go out live every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 o'clock UK. Right now, Spurs Diehards post on XCOM, previously known as Twitter, and can be found under the username there. So if you want to subscribe, I do post on Twitter a lot and promote us on there. You'll find us under my username there. If any of you use Facebook, I know a lot of people can't be asked with it. Also,
Facebook's the best one, if you want my opinion.
Well, Spurs Diehards, we have a Facebook group with 14,200 members and can be found under our Facebook name, Spurs Diehards TTID // Yid Army. I started that group 2019 when the stadium opened, so it's like 5 years old, but it's bombing along the group. The Facebook group's bombing along, and I wish they'd all join us here, but unfortunately, most of the people seem to be from the Southern Hemisphere at different hours, and I don't blame people if they don't use Twitter, to be honest with you. I mean, I go there to promote the channel, don't go there to get involved in any beef, so that's that. So, as we say, if you like our shows, oops, 1-1. Why didn't that come up? All right, it's at the bottom. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Right, and as we always say at the beginning, We welcome everyone into the chat, and a very big up to those who watch us on playback. If you like our fact-based content, which we take pride in, I take pride in bringing you facts. I'd never try to mislead you or anything like that in my shows, nor would Ian and that or the others. Please give our videos a thumbs up and leave a comment to help the channel grow. Right, Mark, you can go through the banners and then we'll talk about the second half. Sorry.
The chat.
Defense. Yeah, but well, he certainly looked good last night, didn't he? To be honest, although to be honest, our general play and our defense made him look good. You know, that's a caveat to that.
And he's a league winner. He won with Napoli.
Good evening, audio.
Evening, audio. Hi, Lord Rodney.
Yeah, we could employ Osherman for FA Cup and Europa League games, and have Solanke League and League for left as well. Yeah, but I'll be honest. When I saw him, all right, we did make him look terrible, but I was thinking, why on earth? Well, there was some chat I was reading. Didn't whoever he played for want 130 million or something for him?
It was Napoli, I think, wanted it.
Yeah, it was some crazy figure they wanted for him.
135 mil, 130 mil.
Yeah, hell. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's worth that.
That's why he ended up on loan, I think, to them.
Yeah. I was going to say, but there's definitely no way Daniel Levy would pay that.
Their window's open 2 weeks longer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something's gone on there though for them to send him out on loan. If he's so important to their team, something must have gone on behind the scenes, and that may be the reason why clubs didn't go in for him, because it doesn't smell right, does it?
No, I think they was asking too much for him, Adrian.
Yeah, but then
but didn't you fall out with Conte?
You want to keep him as well. Go on, Sorensen.
Didn't you fall out with Conte?
Yeah,
most people do. There
was a big fallout with Conte, and Conte basically said, unless I've got the wrong teams, but Conte basically said he wasn't playing for him again.
Conte wasn't at Napoli then, unless he's fell out with him recently when he's gone there. I'm not sure Conte was at Napoli there.
No, he fell out. He fell out with the previous manager to Conte.
Previous manager, sorry.
No, that's okay. We can't be expected to know everything about European football.
This is the man here who's the expert on James Maddison. This is the one that I kept. I'm sorry, David, but I did reference you several times on this show. Look, I live in Leicester, so I've watched Maddison up close for 6 years at Leicester. Maddison had a top DM behind him in Ndidi and 2 box-to-box midfield players, allowing him to come off left. Yep. See, this is what we're missing. This is why Maddison, obviously, well, in some games he's non-existent. And you were right, David. What you said when we first signed Maddison, he'll be on fire, then he'll get injured, then you won't see him for half a season. And what you said, because I've seen you in many chats, and you put the same comment in about when we signed James Maddison, he's going to be brilliant. He'll start on fire, hit the ground running, and you'll be like wowed. And then he'll get injured, and he'll come back and he'll struggle. And that's exactly what's been happening.
Well,
so big up,
relegation reject.
Yeah, and so big up to you, sir. Yeah, this is the man I told you about, Adrian. He was in all. He's loads of Tottenham.
But the guy who played alongside him when they got relegated, who gave away the pass when we scored and won under Conte and got the win at Leicester. We scored 2 goals in about 5 minutes. The Belgian guy that transferred to Villa, forget his name. To me, he's not a guy I'd want in my team in a fight either, because he's lacking. Who's the guy? Oh, he played against us against Villa recently in midfield. The Belgian guy. Remind us in the chat if you're there.
I ain't got.
Sorry, Tillemans. Yeah. I mean, good footballer, but he's another one like, not so hot like when it comes to like. But indeed, be helping out in midfield like. Go to the chat, Mark. Any more to go through?
Yeah. There's a question for you next. That's why I was leaving it for a bit, because this question's directed at you, Adrian.
Is it? Oh. The dressing gown is on the sofa, mate. I just wanted to show the Spurs colours as we lost the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cheers, Destiny.
Cheers. Oh, and the panel, yeah. How beautiful that is. There been a dog appeared?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think he was talking about
Darren's
my dog. Yeah, one of the dogs.
Oh,
Farmer's not a farm without dogs.
I keep looking at the comments, and so I obviously missed that bit.
I think he disagrees on Ozyman. I think Destiny was saying that he's not very good. But, I mean, Victor Ozyman is one of the top strikers in European football. He just is.
Oh, that's what happened to him then. But in the end, he went on loan for free and $90,000 a week. Well,
We could trade Werner for that, you know.
yeah, yes, that's ideal. That is.
Yeah, Werner's on a lot of money, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
165.
Money for nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Here we go. It's been explained. Right.
We'll take the winger from Napoli, Carvaccio. What is it? The one with a very hard pronounceable name. I think
Should we take Sanchez
Scalia.
back as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, yes.
We don't want players with the wrong attitude at our club. We've had enough of them in the past.
Yeah.
No matter how good they are, just don't want them. It's just brewing trouble for later.
Yeah, this is what I said as well. Who doesn't fall out with Conte?
Yeah.
Yeah. The trouble is with Conte, he goes in somewhere, doesn't he? And it's all like roses for a while, but then but something normally ruffles his feathers.
It's the old Italian passion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they are racist. It depends if you're more from the northern or the southern part where they've got the more right wingers, like, you know, the more old school fascists.
Mussolini's.
Yeah, that's a fair comment from Nita.
Yeah.
You don't like, man, the way football is played now. Always going to be pretty to the eye. But if you have the skills as a player and you have a manager that will adapt, that's the key word.
Yeah, it should be in capitals, adapt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything can happen. Yeah.
I don't think anybody would criticize Ange if, you know, because he's known for his high line. If we were playing a high line and it wasn't working and suddenly they drop back, you know, a bit deeper,
exactly.
I don't think anyone would. No one would criticize him.
No
one would say a word.
No.
They would just say, "Hey, look, it's great that you're adapting."
Yeah,
he doesn't want to do it.
10 minutes. See what happens. But
no. Well, it's like I said right at the beginning. I thought that he'd, especially the games against Villa and Man City in the Cup, where, because I was it Man City, we had virtually the same defence, didn't we? It was certainly Dragoo and Davis was in there, and they didn't play as high. That they sort of sat back a bit because they knew they had to, because neither of them have got like Van der Ven's pace. And I thought, he's actually learned, and I was getting on board. But lo and behold, we go to Turkey, like the hardest game we got in that thing, and all that goes out the window, and it's defending on the halfway line again. We were ripped to shreds basically, and if we'd lost 10-2, no one could have complained about it. All the chat that they had, was it 30 chances on our goal?
Oh, the scoreline flattered us.
29 or 28 was it? Honestly, if they'd have scored, if they'd got 7, none of us could have complained. I mean, Osherman should have had the match ball and one of the bloody reserve ones, walked off with both of them, because he could have had 6 at least.
Yeah.
I think we were lucky. We were lucky that they didn't score more, weren't we?
Yeah.
On our side, really.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Any more in the chat to do, Mark, or what?
No. You can move on if you want.
Okay. 49th minute, excellent Dragonson headed clearance. It was actually because it pinged off him, just come off and just missed the post. So he is good in the air. I've got to give him that. He is good in the air, old Star Wars. He ain't frightened to stick his head to the ball. Some players back away, you know. And then
are you talking about the one where he deflected it and it almost went in, but it went on the other side of the post?
Yeah, it went to the right.
Yeah.
And then the 56th minute, Forster did make a good save with his foot, right? Now I want to get onto the controversial bit to me, because I thought, Soren, what's your take on this? I'm going to be honest. I thought Lancashire was fouled before that ball came up, right, to him. It was a bit of a wrestle. It was sort of one of them wrestling to the ground ones. He got up, tries to recover the ball, gets the second yellow card and got sent off. I thought the referee was a homer, to be honest, anyway, with some of them decisions. Kept bringing play back when they were feigning injury all the time.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. This is the point where my not very dodgy stream went offline. So I didn't even see this part. It was literally two points that I missed was the sending off and then Solanke's goal, which obviously I just came back on and I saw the replay for Solanke's goal, but I have not seen the sending off. So from what
Johnny,
I've heard,
were you behind the sofa when this was on, or was you watching? Did you see
I was watching this and I thought to myself, he showed a bit of passion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wanted that ball. He got the ump. He did get fouled beforehand. That's why he had the ump, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then, showed a bit of experience by taking the bloke out. But what can you do?
Did you think he was fouled?
Yeah, I thought he was fouled. I thought the referee was pathetic.
Yeah.
I think the referee walked in that stadium and thought, I'm going to have to go against everything here and just. That's what I mean. He was like an home ref, wasn't he? Like what you said. He was a joke.
Alan, did you think it was a foul?
Yeah, but what I will say is, they're a very physical team. Kind of like when we play West Ham or very physical teams, our players tend to
crumble.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly, Johnny. They crumble. I thought the way that they were guarding Lancashire is how we should have been against Ozyman. They were wrestling with poor Will. They were. I saw it like they were grabbing his arm, and he was kind of having to shove him away, and it was getting pretty physical, even when he was off the ball. And maybe that's what we should have done to them against like Ozyman and stuff. Really stick to them. Make them nervous to come and run up to the defenders. You felt the confidence in Galatasaray, and you could feel the lack of confidence in Tottenham's side when suddenly they had to deal with a very, very physical Galatasaray side. With regard to Dragishin, I saw it a different way. I thought he almost had a Harry Maguire type moment, where with the ball bouncing off his head and I thought the ball had gone in, and so I was freaked out. Luckily, it didn't go in, but Forster did have the good save, but for every good save he made, there was a ball. I think it was the second goal. He kind of just fell down in slow motion, and the ball kind of went under him. Which is, again, why I think Vicario, who's lightning fast, probably would have stopped that. Even if he did push it out of the way, let's say, he wouldn't have let that go in. It was just a poor showing on the day. We were better in the second half, for sure. And as far as Will Lancashire, he's what, 18? He scored a goal. He did a great job scoring that goal. He could have flubbed it, but he didn't. He put it right in. I thought he was robbed. I didn't really think the first yellow card was much of a yellow card. The way how physical Galatasaray was with our players, it just made the ref look so inconsistent that he was going to give a yellow card to Will Lancashire for the second yellow card. It just
Yeah, Porro tackle from behind was worse later, and I thought he'd get a card for that, and he didn't give one for that. And I thought, well, Porro was lucky to get away with one there. I thought,
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I thought Dries Mertens for Galatasaray, I thought he would have gotten a second yellow for a red much earlier. The way he was kind of physically abusing our players. It was just, and I think that comes down to the ref, the lack of consistency in how he was awarding those yellow cards. There was just a lot of physicality. And, that physicality is fine, but when you pop up a yellow card every once in a while, you kind of ask, well, why now? And I thought with Will Lancashire's, I said, well, why the hell now? He did hardly anything. There's been a bunch of other contacts, people getting knocked down. There were injuries. There's all kinds of stuff. Someone on the panel mentioned it, maybe it was Ben, that it looked like the way the Galatasaray players were playing and falling down, it was like they were getting shot from the stands. They were rolling on the ground. It reminded me a lot of the way Pep has his Man City team play. They really try to sell those penalties. They fall on the ground, they're clutching their face.
That's European football, Alan. No, that's what they do. You only have to look at them and they fall over.
Yeah, see, I'm used to American football where the name of the game is hitting one another. So I'm just not used to seeing players try to sell those things. It just feels, I liked it more when the game was a little more physical and everyone just understood that it was a much more physical game. But I thought it was very harsh, the Will Lancashire sending off. Very harsh.
I think it reminded me a bit of the Villa game at home, that like when we were trying to get a child in the game, whenever they lost the ball, it was anything to get it back. Just go down, do anything, try and slow the game down, even though they were much better than us. And because we haven't got the ball no more. Why haven't we got the ball? We want the ball back. You know what I mean? So
I think the answer to this comment, though, David, if you'd have actually listened to it, we've absolutely slated our defence off. So we're not passing the blame onto him. We spoke about the defence already, and all we're saying is that
in his defence.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Gloucester is we've said he's had some great games, but he isn't the goalie he used to be. And in this day and age, and we all get older, we all get slower. This is the problem. His reflexes to get down to the ground, he is slow, and there's nothing you can say about that. And unfortunately, the goals that went in were partly because he was too slow to react to them. And we've already slated and said most of the blame was down to the defenders. So
absolutely,
unfortunately, you probably just missed that part of the conversation.
Going back to Lancashire, I just think he was a bit naive. For his second yellow card, he was tussling with the man, and he just kicked him. It was a definite foul. Whether it was a yellow card is debatable, but it's just
wasn't a yellow card, was it?
No. But it's just a bit of naivety, He's got to learn that. I mean, let's face it. He's only.
If we're sort of obviously going to criticise 2 yellows for this young lad, it doesn't come anywhere near to the red card Dragerson got in his match 10 minutes into it for pulling a player blatantly down.
Well, no.
This is 2 very soft yellow cards in a match that is, beyond civil in a sense. It's you've got the whole stadium against you, the referee against you.
Well, it's welcome to hell, isn't it? They used to have that sign in their crowd.
Yeah, exactly. And any other game, he probably wouldn't have even ended up with 1 yellow card. That's the thing. It was just in that match, that referee, the referee was soft. He was probably more scared than the bloody players were. That's the problem.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
He must have had his car park in the Galatasaray car park.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to a good thing that happened. Who wants to take this 68th minute? Did Maddison give the ball to Porro? I can't remember who gave it to Porro, and then he's like, he did it hard at Solanke. That was quite a firm pass to Solanke, but fair play to Solanke. The little black back flick with his foot, 3-2, and that seemed to. I mean, we were getting into the game anyway after the sending off because that was the 68th minute, and that seemed to shake them a bit. They made substitutions. They didn't pray. They were knackered. To me, they looked.
Well, I guess to be fair,
their fitness. I think their fitness that got us into that game with 10 men. Can't fault the fitness of the players, but
they was looking worn out, wasn't they?
Yeah.
Like Bissouma looked gassed by the end. He just looked like he was gassed. But to be fair, at the sixth, for the second goal, by then we were down a man, but we brought on Kulusevski, Bentancur, we brought on Solanke. Did we have Sarr on at that point? I think Sarr came on with Solanke, I think. We had basically our first team. And I think it showed. I didn't even, I guess I forgot that we were down a man. The way we were playing, it didn't feel like we were down a man. And we were so much better in the second half. I mean, relative to the first half, we were so much better in the second half. But it goes to show that when you play more of our regular first team, that would have been a game I would have really liked to watch. Personally, I would have rather see the youngsters play against Ipswich, because I feel like that would have blooding Lancashire in an Ipswich game doesn't feel like throwing him to the wolves, where it kind of did with Galatasaray. Putting him in that position away was it was setting him up to fail, and unfortunately, he fell into that trap. But
Alan, is that the whole way through the European games we have played the kids, so it's not like
you're right.
It's not like all of a sudden we've played the kids in that one game. The team has been set up to play these youngsters, and if we'd have played the youngsters on Sunday and lost against Ipswich, there would be uproar. There would be an absolute meltdown.
Would there? I guess.
There would. There definitely would. I mean, look, to me, I don't know. Like I said at the beginning, I just think that Anges looked at that one game and thought, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice this game, because whether it's the old we must finish top four, whatever whatever argument we want to bring into it, I think he knows we cannot afford to lose to Ipswich on Sunday, because if we do, there will be a meltdown.
But it also puts pressure on him once you lose this game to have changed things. It puts a bit more pressure on him. There's always pressure on a Premier League manager all the time. So, Johnny, look what nearly happened on the 90th minute. Kulusevski tried to chip the keeper. And when the ball was in the air, I'm thinking,
I thought it was in. I thought it was
going in.
Yeah,
I had my fingers crossed and my eyes closed when that happened. And I thought we're gonna go 3-3 here, bro.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was.
I mean, you look at us. I mean, like you think from that sending off on, you could see you can get at Galatasaray, can't you? You can get at them. Which makes the result disappointing now, because we showed that we could get at them. Yeah. What did you think of the chip, Alan? Did you think it was going in or what?
I totally thought it was going in. I thought but of course, I wanted Kulusevski to start because I knew Galatasaray was a very physical team, and Kulusevski's one of our only very physical players. He likes to really get physical with players. He'll, and doesn't shy away from really making hard hits and whatnot. And so I think it made such a difference when he came on the pitch. But I thought that thing was in. I was about halfway, and then I saw that it didn't go in.
Well, put it this way, right? If it had gone in, that would have been the great escape.
I thought
Right.
Coventry was a great mistake, to be honest.
And the only thing I got to say is that yes, we look
Don't they all
better,
die?
right? Is yes, we look better with 10 men, but it makes you wonder why we didn't start those players that eventually came on, right? Possibly get a goal or two up, and then at the end when they were tired, because I know it's easy in hindsight, me sat here saying this, but like, why didn't we start that team that finished? All right, and we only had 10 men, and let's face it, we were bossing it, right? Start that team, get a goal or two in the lead, and then bring the kids on.
Yeah, no, I like that plan. I didn't understand it either. Always think.
No, but because let's face it, the team we started with got absolutely bossed. They couldn't stick 2 or 3 passes together, right? And to be honest, Galatasaray were just walking all over us. But at the end of the game, they were like dead on their feet, and that's why we took control, even though we did only have 10 men. I'd like to have seen the team we finished up with start the game, get a goal or two up, and then because it would have been a completely different game. Because let's face it, if we had 11 men, if we had 11 players with the team that finished starting, it would have been a completely different game.
Yeah,
There's no way we would have been overrun and just because they were running circles around it. It was almost embarrassing to watch it, especially the first half. It was an embarrassment.
mhm.
Soren, for you, Spurs improved with 10 men as Galatasaray retired. Gray, Bentaker, and Basuma were our best players. These are obviously my opinions when I make these banners, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said it a few times. I've said it in a couple of the chats that for me, Basuma was very poor in the first half. We went down to 10 men, and then Basuma stepped up. Basuma suddenly became the man on the pitch, and you know that to me shows. I'm not going to say leadership qualities, but you know it shows that he's the one that we need to look at, and you kind of look at it and think, why couldn't he have played like that all match? Benson Kerr's playing himself into form, and he is looking absolutely phenomenal at the moment. And he is one of those where you look at it and you think that there's probably only 1 or 2 players that you would say has to start every match if they could, and Kulu's one of them, and Benson Kerr's fast becoming another.
Yes, fingers crossed he doesn't get a big FA ban.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, whether whether that's part in his back of his mind that is, he's going to have to show up. And look, Archie Gray. I mean, you all know that I think this kid's going to be somewhat special when he hits the form. But I just feel sorry for him because this is the young lad, and he's playing out of position, and he's playing in a very unnatural position on the left-hand side. And, some people, he's the only one that they're digging out. And I just think when you look at him, yes, he does look out of his depth. I'm not saying he isn't. And he did struggle a little bit last night. But I think that's because the whole team's struggling. And when you think he's an 18-year-old kid playing his first season in the Premiership in a position that he doesn't play, I just think he's doing well. Even, I'm not saying he's playing well, but he's doing well for what, for what he's having to put up with.
And obviously likes him a lot.
I think Ange's got a lot of trust in this kid.
I think everybody likes him.
Yeah,
I just wish he would play him in midfield because he's got such a great pass. He can run with the ball. He can dribble. And look, this is going to be a big statement, and I'm going to get pelters left, right, and centre. But the way he plays when he runs with the ball, and I know he's not there, and I know he's not in the same league as him, but he almost reminds me a little bit of Dembele. That he can run with the ball, he can pass the ball. He just needs time to develop into that type of player. But while we're playing him at left back and right back, he's going to get pelters and he's going to get criticised. And I just feel sorry for the lad because he's, his positional play sometimes when he's playing left back and right back is in the wrong place. Let's not beat about the bush. He is sometimes, but when you've got a lad like that who's been told to get up forward, and then he's having to run back, and he kind of doesn't know whether he's coming or going. Sometimes he's got no protection from anyone else, which is the same as Porro. But like we said, he looked absolutely terrible. I just think, this lad is going to be something good. We've just got to give him time. But, it's Benson Kira's got to be the first name on the team list at the moment. And so has Kulu. Bissouma yesterday, like I say, he stepped up in the second half. And I think he was, I'm not going to say phenomenal, but he was certainly worth his weight in gold in the second half yesterday. He helped us.
When he's at his best with ball retention and
he's brilliant.
And he's on the turn and loses a player on the turn, he looks superb, like he did in the first 2 games of last season.
Yeah.
Right? On fire, weren't they?
Let's not forget Benson Kerr and Kulu were apparently the Juventus rejects.
Let's face it. Let's face it. Right, Archie Gray, he's not a left back. He's not a right back. Right. All right. He played there for Leeds, but we're talking about a championship team. Yes, he can do that job in the championship, but he certainly cannot do that job in the Premier League. Now, when are we going to learn that if you're going to get the best out of this lad, play him in his proper position? It's what I've been saying for weeks and weeks on this channel. Square pegs, round holes. Right, now,
Andrew's got that decision to make, and we've got so many games coming up. We've got.
Well, this is where I question him. Well, this is where I question Andrew all the time, and I don't think he's the man. I'm sorry, but I don't.
The argument to that, Mark, is I agree with you. By the way, he certainly isn't a left back, and he certainly isn't a right back. But when you look at, you've got Porro is the right back, and he played far worse than Gray did.
Well, he's a wing back, mind.
But Gray was playing as a wing back as well. Then, which same position as Porro. Well, Porro's your seasoned player, and he's playing worse than Gray. But we're saying Gray's not a centre back, which I agree with, a left back or a right back. But this is what blows my mind, that we can pick on Gray, who's having to fit into.
I wasn't picking on him.
I know you're not. I know you're not. I don't mean you. I mean
on him.
as a whole.
Yeah.
But we're calling Gray out because he was overrun in a position that he doesn't play and shouldn't be playing, like you've said. But then Porro, who is in his natural position, was far worse and getting overrun far more. And he's playing in his natural position, and he's a seasoned pro. And this is what gets me when we criticize these youngsters, and I'm on about as a whole, not as individuals, that we often forget. Well, they're actually playing better than some of the seasoned pros in the team.
So Johnny, to you, just a second, right? Now with the Gray situation, all right, we can admit that Bentancur and Kulu have been our two best midfielders. You've also got Sarr, who's coming into form, and Bissouma. I mean, if we're in the League Cup final tomorrow, does Gray start then? He doesn't.
Yeah. What, don't you think he starts?
What, in the final? What, Gray?
Yeah, I'd put him in. I'm not a big fan of Sarr's all right. Bissouma.
Destiny.
Hit or miss, isn't he? You know what I mean? I like someone who's a bit reliable. And when Gray plays in these positions that Angie's putting him in, he's just picking up people's mistakes, and he's just what's he supposed to do?
All right, then, Alan, for you, second half summary. A superior fitness levels failed to get as a result in this game, combined with poor performances from Davies, Dragerson, Bergvall and Madison. I think they were the weakest links, unless you want to add to it, or whether you agree or not.
No, I agree. I think I know I criticized Gray in the first half. I thought, other than his amazing pass up to Brendan Johnson, I thought that he kind of had a difficult first half. But it's a learning curve for him, because I don't know that he's played a side as physical as Galatasaray, and in an environment so hostile as what Galatasaray brought that day, and it's intimidating. And I think he was maybe playing a little intimidated. But then I think, you can only get bumped and hit so many times before you want to hit back. And I think Bray kind of pushed through and did much better in the second half. I think Davies and Dragic, they're just not the right combo. They just aren't. I really wanted us to pick up, a left or right center back in the transfer window in the summer, but we didn't because I know we have Vuskovic coming in the summertime, and I guess that was the pickup. But we need like a season. To my mind, we need a seasoned veteran who can kind of lead from the back there to do the job on rotation, because I just don't see Davies and Dragic being the right combination. Bergvall. I think with Bergvall also kind of had the same thing. He's young, and I think he got bullied the whole game, and I just don't think that he was prepared, and that maybe that's a fault of Ange's and the coaches. They didn't prepare the people for, hey, by the way, when you go there, they're going to be screaming for your blood. They're going to, you're going to get people that are going to be threatening to kill you, and everything's going to be against you. They're going to be very physical with you. And I just don't think he was prepared for what he was up against. And James Madison, he's so inconsistent. It's so frustrating because the game before, he puts in that free kick that is a worldie of a free kick, and the performance he put in was awesome. And then he puts in a performance like he did against Galatasaray. You're like, it's like a tale of two people. It really is. And it makes it very difficult. Bissouma is very much that way too, unfortunately, I think. Bissouma isn't consistent. When he's on, he's really on. And when he's off, he is really off. He doesn't have, we've talked about Ben Davies kind of being a 6 or a 7 fairly consistently. You don't get like a 2 or a 10 from him. You kind of get 6, maybe 7 out of him all the time. But we don't get that with Bissouma. We get the 2 or a 10. I think Bentancur had a great game. Was it Bentancur that had the goal line save? Because I know Forrester pushed the ball away and then someone kicked it in. Am I remembering right that he had a touchline save?
Yeah, you're right there, Alan.
Yeah.
Just on the Vuskovic thing, even if he does come in, he's not been with the academy for 2 years. If you're going to add him, you can't really add him to the Europa League squad, right? Unless, like I say, 2 of the other academy players have done 3 years, and by then, and it's allowed in the rules that we can have another 2 in the squad and have a 25-man squad instead of 23. The only thing you could use Vuskovic would be in the Premier League then. But then again, Alfie Dorrington is an option. He can play left centre back or left back. Right, he's a ball back. He is an option.
I would love to see him come in.
Depends how we're stretched, doesn't it? How we get stretched, Ange may be false, but we've got.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Dorrington against Ipswich. I feel like that would be a game where if you're going to play a youngster, give Dorrington a chance to play. Maybe sit Dragic in and then play Davies, who's experienced, next to Dorrington or something like that.
I think you'll see the same back 4, but with Udogie back. That'll be the only change in the back 4.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll give you this one. And team selection, game management, substitutions. Yeah.
This will be over quick.
Team selection.
Game management, substitutions.
Team selection, dreadful. Game management, dreadful. Substitutions, spot on, but they should have started and not, because it's like I said just a minute ago. If we just started and got a couple of games, cut the goals up, that would have been a completely different game, completely different. And then bring the youngsters on when Galatasaray, who, let's face it, were blowing out their backside towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
right? That would have been completely different. Anyway, Adrian, we have one question here.
Go on. What's the question?
And it's for all of us. Parra or Gray to be played more upfield if Ange is willing to change it.
Gray doesn't come across as. I mean, if he's in
No,
midfield, I've seen him get forward in
He's
games.
not a winger. Gray's
But
more.
when he plays at fullback, fair play to him. He is conservative, and maybe because he's only had not that many minutes so far in the game, so confidence grows with that, and he may bomb on because I've seen him have good games in midfield, right, in the Championship and that. But so it's one of these ones we're going to have to wait and see on that.
Porro should be played up front a bit more.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah,
He plays
definitely.
a lot better up front than he does fucking.
I think I've always said I
And
think
the other
Porro would be better as a right-sided midfielder, where he's
Yeah.
got a
Can you
defender
imagine-
player behind him. He's not a winger.
Or a winger.
Say he's not
Yeah,
a
but
winger.
can you imagine Porro and Spence on the right? Spence playing back and Porro
Yeah.
more up front. Put
Yeah.
Gray in that number 6 role. He will he will be far better
Hmm.
in the defensive midfield role because he can run with the ball, he can tackle, he can obviously help defend. I mean, I don't know whether we're just training him on the defensive side a little bit and then hopefully start to play in midfield, but he definitely needs. I mean, what I would have done last night, I wouldn't have started Bergvall. I would have started Gray in the midfield
Yeah.
and have him, and then
Next
have
to Basuma, so we can
Bissouma
sort of.
and Benton Kerr and Madison. That's the three or maybe drop Bissouma and have Benton Kerr, Madison and Gray. That's the three I would have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would certainly move Gray forward, and I would certainly be happy to see Porro play further forward.
Yeah,
But
well,
because
yeah,
he can't defend.
yeah. Because to be, I said this earlier. Porro and Destiny are both wing backs. That was their prime job when we bought them, because we bought them for Conte.
Yeah.
Right, and now they're being shoehorned in again, which will lead on to another question. Is for me, so I can answer it briefly. Right, which they're being shoehorned now. It's that square pegs in round holes thing again. And it's Porro is a lot better going forward. Well, I don't think he does defend, does he? Or if he does, he doesn't do it very well.
No.
All right, we're going to move on to the preview of it.
Hang on, it's just this one. Right, I bought some triangular pegs. What should I do with them? Find triangular holes. Find triangular holes.
Graham, find some triangular holes. Right, these are our remaining games in the Europa Cup. We've got Roma on the 28th of November, at home. Rangers away on the 12th of December. Hoffenheim away, 23rd of January, and Elfsberg's on the 30th of January. And this will all coincide with the end of the transfer window, the January monthly transfer window, which we've usually done quite well in, actually, apart from Dan Juma. We got Bentancur and Kulu, we got Dele Alli, we got Porro, we got Lucas Moura. We've actually done quite well. It's an awful time of year to do transfers. So we may not do any business unless we've really got injury crisis. If Odeberg's back fit or whatever, he should be back in the new year. And we see if he's any good, because we haven't had a chance to look at him. So they're the ones, right? Preview Ipswich. This is Sunday. I'm going to the game. Any of you going? Johnny, you going? Are you going? No.
Do you know what? I might try and get a ticket for it, Adrian.
I know I'll meet up with Brad and Stephen Martin in a dispensary bar, and Charlie Biker's coming over with his dad, so we'll meet up with them. I know Leo's round with Ellie, so I don't think we'll collide at all. We won't meet probably.
See, I always try and get 2 tickets, which never happens. So if I can't take the missus or the kids, then I think to myself, what's the point?
I think you can get tickets on exchange for this. It won't be a sellout. Right, for this game, a few facts for you. I like to bring you all facts in the chat and that. Spurs sit 7th in the Premier League on 16 points, played 10, won 5, drawn 1, lost 4. 422. That should be against 11, by the way, not 1. And we've got a goal difference of plus 11. Ipswich sit 3rd from bottom on 5 points, played 10, won none, drawn 5, 14 goals against 21, goal difference -11. Another stat for you: Spurs have won 32 of their last 36 Premier League games against promoted sides, drawn 2 and lost 1 out of them 36, and haven't failed to score against the promoted side since December 2009. Ipswich have lost their 5 Premier League away games to London sides and remain winless in their last 10 Premier League games, drawn 5, lost 5. Recent losses: 4-1 to West Ham and 4-3 to Brentford. Spurs definite non-starters for us. VDV's out, obviously. Richarlison's out. Moore's out with the virus. Odegaard be back in the new year. Spence, groin strain. Werner, I think he's got a slight knock. Romero, well, he was a doubtful starter. He did have ligament damage in his toe, but sometimes there's a sort of injury you can play in. I bet he'd want to play the Warrior. I wouldn't be surprised if he did start Romero, actually. I mean, Ange might say we need you, and Romero wouldn't say no. Again, when he came off, he weren't the sort of player. He's not the sort of player to come off of an injury unless he's feeling it. You know what I mean? So
he did sit there, though, Adrian, didn't he, on the floor, moaning about his toes.
Yeah, they say it's like ligament damage, I think, in his big toe. It's nothing broken. So whether that's a question of wearing a boot or being careful, but he's got to be able to kick a ball, obviously.
Well, all those stats and facts you just brought up, that sort of points to Dr. Tottenham will see you now.
Well, not really. I mean, like,
to be honest, that's what normally happens.
Well, yeah. You could say that with VDV, and you could say that with Romero because they'd be regulars. But Richarlison would be a regular starter. Even more, I'd like to see him wouldn't be a regular starter. Odegaard, we haven't had him to worry about whether we're missing him or not. Spencer's the same, we haven't had him. And Werner, most of the fan base couldn't give a about Werner. So I don't. So guys, Ipswich, we going strong, Soren?
I mean, no doubt about it. He'll play the strongest team available to him. The only concern I've got at the moment is probably Sonny, because I don't think he looked great last night. And if he doesn't play on the left, then you kind of look and say, who is going to play on the left?
Adrian is. Adrian's going. He'll come out to stand.
Yeah.
Son don't play and Werner's not fit. Mikey Moore plays. It's quite simple. Mikey Moore plays.
He's ill, though, isn't he?
Mikey Moore's out.
Well,
he's ill.
He's
only got a slight virus.
Right. Yeah,
I'm saying he's out because I'm going worst case scenario. He's out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I know Ange said with injuries before players are out, and suddenly you see they're on the team sheet when you're playing a game.
Yeah.
Right? So, which is good. I mean, I don't mind him doing that to throw the opposition off. Right.
I mean, the other option I see is whether we move Brennan Johnson to the left and put Kulu on the right, and then have a midfield of Papsar, Bissouma, and Bentancur, and really make it a strong midfield. Because if our back four is Dragusin and Davis, they are going to need some protection. So I just think, it will probably pick itself. It will be the very typical team: Solanke up front, Son on the left, Johnson on the right, probably a midfield of Kulu, Bissouma, and Bentancur. I think he'll drop Maddison again. And then a back four of Udoji, Porro, Dragusin, Davis, and then goalie, obviously Vicario.
Now, Dave, and now David here is predicting 4-0. I think that's a bit optimistic because we never keep clean sheets. I would say 4-1, to be honest.
Ipswich are not going to go toe to toe with us, are they? They haven't won in 10 games. They're always going to sit back, try and get a goal from a set piece, a corner, a free kick. If they get one, then they'll pile bodies forward, like a lot of these sort of weaker teams do, don't they? I mean, so does that?
I don't know.
Does it make sense at the start if they're going to play a low block?
I watched that Brentford Ipswich game, and Ipswich were aggressive. They're a team. Yeah, they're a team that won't just sit back. My concern is we will expect them to do that and take them lightly, and they will just come in kind of like Leicester did. They played like they have nothing to lose, and we'll be caught on the back foot, and we'll have to catch up in the second half like we usually do. But I just don't want to put in a side that's not gonna put in a good show, because I think Ipswich is going to come to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's home, right? We're playing at home. They're going to come to the stadium ready, give us both barrels, because they really don't have anything to lose. If they don't do that, they're relegated. So they need to play us. And all they have to do is watch how we played against Crystal Palace. To see how to beat us. And, I just don't want to lose to Ipswich, because it's that would, as you said, as everyone has said, that would be causing a lot of problems. There would be a lot of questions asked. So Ange doesn't have the luxury of playing a weaker side. Better that we beat them 10-0 and overdid it than sit back and just let them dictate everything.
At least it won't ruin our whole weekend. It's just Sunday it will ruin.
Right, as opposed to the whole of the international break.
Yes.
Let's not pretend we are winning this game on Sunday. Full stop.
Yeah, slaughtering them.
But we're not losing it. Come on, let's be positive. We are not losing this game on Sunday. It is going to be at least 3-1. We are going to look good. We will be okay.
I put more than that, because I'm in LTEL Cockerell's online thing. I'm top of that league, and I'm not giving my score away, but I put more than that. I think
I said 3-1.
Yeah,
I said 3-1.
Yeah.
Midfield for you, Johnny, for this game.
Benton Core, Kulo, Star.
Ooh, Mark Rippon was one of my favorite quarterbacks.
That's the thing. I'll put on a strong midfield.
Forward line, Soren.
Forward line, obviously, Solanke. It's probably going to be Son and Brennan Johnson.
Back four, Alan.
Oh man, what a crapshoot! He doesn't have much of a choice. I would like to see Destiny. Well, actually, I'd rather see Gray, Dorrington, and Ben Davies, and I guess Porro. I think Gray has earned his chance to play teams like Ipswich and start. I think he really has. And it gives it, and if he plays really well, that confidence will help him in the future. You can't play. Yeah, I would drop Dragerson. I think Dragerson didn't play very well, and I think after that specific performance, when a player has such a shocking couple of moments, you start to question yourself. And I think it's a quick turnaround between the two games. And I'd be concerned where his head's at and how it will affect his gameplay. So I know some people say you got to play through that. I don't know that Dragishin is old enough yet to know how, and experienced enough yet to know how to play through those kinds of situations. And I think Alfie Dorrington should get an opportunity. He's giving all these other youth opportunities. Dorrington, I think, definitely deserves an opportunity. And if you can't do it against Ipswich, I don't know what teams you can.
Soren, my issue with that would be like with Dorrington is now you're changing the centre backs again. I mean, I would play Davis just for his experience, right? He's the experienced man. But then it's either, to me, it's still got to be Dragerson or it's got to be Gray has to then come as a centre back because we've got no one else.
I said it a minute ago. To me, your back four has got to be Porro, Dragerson, Davis, Udoji. But we go back to the conversation at the beginning, like Mark said, you've got to bring that back four line back a little bit. Bring them back 10 yards. Don't play such a high line, and just spread the play a little bit more and allow our midfield to play. And you know, we know Dragerson is one, like we've said, is one of the old school defenders. He wants to defend. So let him defend. Let Davies defend. He hasn't got the pace to do that running anymore. So let them defend, and then get Udoji and Porro, just one of them to go at a time, and make sure there's always three players back. And this is, again, look, I'm not going to be surprised if we do concede a goal, but
we always do. We always do.
I mean, if we do not win this game this weekend, then there has to be.
Go on, say it. Say it. Sorry.
No, I nearly did. I nearly did.
Say
Mark.
it. Say
there
it.
has to be some serious questions asked, because we really. I mean, look, even with a weakened team, and look, Ipswich have been playing well. You know, they're not a walkover, but we have to win that game on Sunday, and he's got to play the strongest team possible from the start. And if we do get 2 or 3-0 up, then make a couple of changes. Give the youngsters a little bit of time in the Premiership, but that
Stick
game
your
has to
Archie
be
ground. Stick your Archie ground. Stick your Bergvall in there.
Not happening, Mark, is it? I mean, it's not. You got to look at the fact we've played this game away in Turkey, right?
No.
So Gray's. I'm on my say now. So Gray's had a game here. I don't think he plays Sunday. I think it's going to be Davis and Dragerson again in midfield, and I think Udogie will come back and Porro will play. You know, I mean, like, I know Udogie's not been in the best form. I've been highly critical of him recently from towards the end of last season, this season. The decent game I thought he was getting his mojo back was away at Man United when we won 3-0. But I think Gray is benched for this. I think he's benched as the emergency centre-back. I think Doran will be on the bench as well as a centre-back, come left-back as well. So there it goes. Midfield, well, I think it's safe to say that Bentancur and Decky, I mean, they came on late in this game, so they're going to start. Whether he starts Sarr or Basuma as well, it may be that Basuma sits on the bench and he starts Sarr, who was coming into good form, again rested. The front three, you know, it's going to be Solanke and Johnson. It's just a question of whether plays as well. Because, I mean, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Mikey Moore's fit. If he's fit, Mikey Moore will start, in my opinion, in this game. If not, it wouldn't surprise me because we haven't got no other options. We've got no other real attacking options unless you go with Soren, and which would give us more bite. I mean, you give us more bite in midfield and you push Decky out on the wing. And then you've got an option of playing Bentancur, Basuma and Sarr in midfield behind them. I mean, that would be very strong, right, against Ipswich. But Decky
right. The only time I've seen Ipswich play this year, they were the first game of the season. They were the early game when they played Liverpool at Portman Road. Yes, I know they were up for it because they hadn't been in the Premier League for a while, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what, that's the only game I've seen. Admittedly, it was the first one. And like I said, yes, they're up for it. Blah, blah, blah. You know, they ain't, but Liverpool struggled to beat them. I think Liverpool won 2-0 or 2-1.
I think so did Man City.
Yeah, but like Ipswich are no mugs.
Yep.
From what I saw, I've only seen the one game because that's only because it was the first game of the season and it was the early one.
I get where you're coming from, Mark. My only counter to that is the fact that I believe they've got 4 or 5 injuries themselves. It happens when you're locked out and you're down the bottom.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're key players to their team or not. I couldn't tell you. I don't know that much about them. And the other thing is, when you've lost 5 and drawn 5, your confidence is not going to be.
Yeah. But we'll put it this way:
It's going to be at rock bottom. I don't see if they've played, even if they played the most attractive attacking, possession-based football going like a Barcelona in their prime. Once you've got those results behind you, they're going to want to shore it up. In my opinion, they're going to want to sit back, which may give hope for Maddison to play, but he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it on his form. Not for that game. He was good in the last game against Villa, but it's like hit and miss. It is, so it's either going to be Decky and and Bentancur definitely in midfield, or Decky goes out on the wing if Moore's not fit, the way I see it. So he does have options. He ain't down to bare bones. And after this game, we got the international break. So
we have a question here, Adrian. If you want to,
go on, throw it at the panel.
If you want to go, do you think Ange really wanted to make those subs last night with an eye on Sunday? Was he forced to bring them on?
I think he's being careful with Sonny. I don't think Sonny's been, although Sonny was good against Villa and all that, it's a question of like fitness for 90 odd minutes, I think, with Son. And he sort of hinted at that, although he didn't tell Sonny he was going to take him off on the hour mark. And I think he was going to do this against Galatasaray, whether we were winning or not. I think Sonny was coming off.
Yeah, definitely.
The other subs, I think, were enforced. We needed to shore up the middle. So I just think they were brought on to shore it up. And it worked because Bentancur did well when he came on. And they gave Basuma a bit more license as well, you see, because he had Bentancur there.
That's what you get for playing those two holding players, though. It's like I was saying at the beginning. I couldn't understand.
Some fans did complain, we've took the wingers off. But come on, realise the state of the game as it was at the time, right? And, that wouldn't necessarily stop Decky from getting down on a wing, would it? So I could see why he did that. Soren, what did you think on the subs then? Were they rested for Sunday? Do you think other players were taken off for Sunday's game?
I mean, like I said earlier on, I think last night's game was kind of a sacrifice. I think he's got his eye on Sunday. He knows we have to pick 3 points up from that game. And when you look at the list of teams we've still got left to play in Europe, Galatasaray and Roma are probably the two that you're prepared to drop points on if you're gonna, because the others are quite easily winnable. And I just think with the state of the squad at the moment, it's game management. Like this time last year when we did our 10 games and everything, we were winning the league and all this lot, and then the wheels dropped off. I think he's trying to make sure that doesn't happen again this season, especially in the league, where to sacrifice 1 or 2 games in Europe and still have a very good chance of qualifying means we have to go against Ipswich and win. And look, let's not joke about it. In seasons gone past, this would have been a match we was expecting to go into and win and come out with no points. So I don't think he can afford to do that. And look, for all those that are Ange out and things like that, if we lose on Sunday, there's going to be a lot of shouting again. There's going to be a lot of shouting, and I think he knows he cannot afford to lose against Ipswich.
The pressure's on, but there's been none of. I mean, I've listened or been on all these other podcasts where people lean this way, Ange out, leave out, blah blah blah. There's been none of that at the stadium, not at any game at all at the stadium this season. So there's a separation. There's a big separation between perspectives of this club from different angles, from people with different agendas. It's none of that at the stadium. It'd be disappointed. There'd be a meltdown on social media. That's normal after a draw or even a loss.
But I mean, the thing is, and I get what you're saying about in the stadium, and look, it's good, but it doesn't mean that those people that are in the stadium aren't thinking or saying it once they've come out of the stadium.
Yeah,
we've seen the meltdowns in the stadium before, and look,
I
another couple
I
of
hear you, but the thing that's always stuck in my mind is like we're in the quarterfinals of the League Cup, the Carabao Cup. We're in the Europa League. The FA Cup hasn't started. We'd have to be in a real crap position by the 10th and 11th of January, by the time we play our first game in the FA Cup, for it to be a meltdown. I think Angie's well safe to the season. The board have already
I
said.
don't disagree with you, but if we lose on Sunday, it puts a lot more. I mean, we're not talking about losing to Liverpool or Man City. We're talking about losing to virtually the one team that's probably going to be relegated this year. And, you know, to come off a loss in Europe, where for me, it looked like we sacrificed that game for Sunday. If we lose on Sunday, then that makes a mockery of losing against Galatasaray. So, you know, you can't afford to lose them both.
If we lose on Sunday, will you say the words that you nearly said earlier?
I won't. I'm fully Angie.
No, I won't. But what I will say, Mark, is it really does depend how we play. I mean, if we don't turn up on Sunday, and you know, I will ask the questions. I mean, I'm not Angelo. I've said I want to give him till the end of the season. Now, if come the end of the season we're not finishing in Europe, we're not finishing anywhere near looking like we're going to win a cup, then questions have got to be asked about the manager. But I think we need to back him until the end of the season, until we know for sure what's going on. But saying that, look, if we go into these matches and all of a sudden he has lost the dressing room, the players aren't playing for him, then those questions will always need to be asked at that point. But
Can I say I'm not Anjo either. I'm not Anjo either by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't enjoy the style of football we play. I think it's suicide. It's suicide at best. But when we played City and Villa and we won those games, he got it right. He did well, and I thought he'd learn. The line was
I'll say against that, Mark, is I love the way we play football when we play it well. When we play like we did the other night, and you know, I can't remember the other game where we were shocking the second half. That's the games you don't enjoy. But when it actually comes together and the football, you know, we go and we're attacking and it's free flowing, it's beautiful football. It is, but it's so inconsistent.
The Villa and the City game, where we won and that line was dropped back, right? There was none of this one ball down the side or over the top and they were in and scored, right? And you know, the line was dropped back. We had two holding midfielders, like that helped out the defense, and you actually saw in those games when the other team had the ball, our defense was in a line all across the pitch. We had four in a line across the pitch.
Johnny, is it fair? Would it be fair to judge Ange so harshly, especially when the squad's far from complete? It's still at least 4 or 5 players short.
It's not, is it?
No cover at left centre back. Yeah, that's 2 definite players. We don't know if Spence is if he's really trusted Spence until the injury's back. So we may be in the market for another right back even. Then there's a question of midfield. If Maddison and Basuma don't produce the goods through this season, we may be looking to add more steel in midfield. Then up front, we don't know how good Odegaard is, so we may even be looking for another winger, even though Young Min Hook's coming in. So is it really fair when a manager's had 2 seasons, 16 players went out last year?
Let me get a fucking word in, Adrian. I think he's judged harshly, isn't he? He's considering the players that are at the minute. You know what I mean? And do you know what? I'm confused with Angie. He confuses the fuck out of me. I just don't understand his game management. So that's the only thing that puts me off the boy. I think to myself, you're just another Spurs manager under Levy. You know what I mean? Sometimes. And then he shows me different on another game and I think, oh, he's perking up. But I think the fans as a whole are really harsh on the bloke, to be honest with you. Well, the social media fans are harsh on him, like on him. But, you know, I'm confused over the bloke on a personal level.
Alan, should we only judge him once he's got the players he wants?
No, I don't think that that's how it works in the Premier League. I think if you're at the Premier League, you're at a level where the expectation is you get a couple windows like Ange has had, and you get the best players you can for your situation, or in this case, some are Levy's, some are his, and you make do with what you got. What I will say about Ange, and I agree with Soren, if we lose at Ipswich, it begs the question, and I have a feeling Levy will probably have a conversation with Ange. Is Ange doing the right thing? Because Ange has kind of doubled down on this high line in an interviews, has said he doesn't want to change because he doesn't want to be like every other manager. The problem is he's doubling down on something that may not work. And I would respect him way more if he said, you know what, I thought this would work. I thought one way would have made it right. It used to work for me in the past. But you know what? It didn't work. I still believe in the high line, but there are times when we're going to have to play maybe counterattacking football and change up the way we do things mid-game, depending on the flow of the game. To me, that would be something that I want out of my coach, someone who's willing to learn, because Ange is kind of, in many ways, Ange is very much like the youth of the team. He's still learning the Premier League. He's still learning the away form, you know, against Galatasaray. You know, he I don't think he's ever played in Istanbul.
Alan, he's been learning for a long while. He's played international football. He's played in the J League, right? Shouldn't he have the mentality to know when to change it up? And he hasn't changed it up, has he?
No, you know, and you're right. He should have that mentality. I think what maybe happened with Ange, and it happens with certain people when you get to a certain level, you know, for a coach, getting to the Premier League is a huge ego boost. And I'm wondering if perhaps he figured this is how he sold himself on the high line to get into the Premier League. And I just wonder if maybe it's ego, maybe he has already kind of doubled down on it, so it's very difficult to backtrack without looking like he's an idiot. Yeah, but sometimes, you know what I mean? It's some of it is politics in that respect. You know, he's kind of dug himself in to in a hole, and the only way to come out is to be able to say, look, mea culpa, I was wrong. You know, I see now that, hey, look at that. Watching the tapes back, look at Aston Villa, look at Man City. When we dropped back, when we looked like we actually had a 6 and we were playing kind of counterattacking football, we didn't have to do that the whole game. But when we were doing that, when it was necessary, it made all the difference. Yeah. And I think Ange just needs to, maybe it's a little bit of humble pie or what.
Stubborn. He's stubborn.
He's very stubborn. Yeah, he's very stubborn.
We say he's stubborn, but if he believes in the way he plays that much, why should he change?
But when it's not working, then surely any sensible manager would think, oh shit, this is not working.
This is what confuses me with a man.
Yeah.
Well, you make it work. If you want to adopt your philosophy, if you've got a philosophy, you don't change it, because that's what he's done throughout his whole career. He's been a manager for 26 years. Look, and at 26 years, you'll know every system and all that. It might be harder to implement in different leagues, but if you've got your philosophy and you get your players in to implement that, and it works, then that's fine. All right, we need to see more. But just on his record here so far, he's dropped 2%, by the way. He's now with Galatasaray, 57 matches, 31 wins, 8 draws, 18 losses. He's got a win ratio of 54.39%. Now, it was 56 before we lost to Galatasaray, right? Mourinho's games, 58 games, 46.55. He's better than Mourinho. Conte games, 55 games, 58. Conte's better.
Antonio.
Poch games. Now, look, Poch has played 202 games. He's
right? He is the king. He is the king.
He played 54 at 58, a little bit better, and Nuno well below. So he's in good company. His record's good. It's good as it stands now, and we're yet to see how it finishes this season. But,
bring up the away wins, Adrian, and see where it is then.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, Mark. These all done on percentage of wins.
No.
And well, let's bring up Harry Kane then, because all them other managers had Harry Kane. He didn't have Harry Kane. If he'd have had Harry Kane in this team, how much well would he be doing? Let's bring
Adrian,
up
we've got Richarlison.
Sorry, he would.
We've got Richarlison. We don't need Harry.
Well, yeah, and especially when you consider how many big chances we missed last season, 30 odd. And if Kane had been playing in that team last season, right, we would have saved Kane's transfer, because we've been in a Champions League. So you can bring up other things. There's lots of permutations. But what I'm saying is, for last season, I said it before. I said we came in. He's lost the world's best striker, right? We went flying for 10 games. Then we lost VDV with an injury. We lost Bentancur and Matty Cash. We lost James Maddison with his hamstring. Basuma had 3 suspensions. Romero had 1 suspension. We had players out on international duty, and yet we finished 5th. Well, if this is a clueless manager, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion whether they rate the manager or not. I like him. I'm fully Angian. I think he deserves to be given time, and he also deserves to be given more players as well. So,
he deserves the players.
The answer to this one, though, Ben, don't forget Poch had. Bloody hell, it's gone. Come on, what's the 2 defenders?
It's a point. It's a
Jan Vertonghen and
Vertonghen and Thingy, which was probably arguably be better
and
than
Toby.
the back 2 we've got now.
And
well, we'll only be able to answer that in another couple of seasons, won't we? Because
didn't Poch have Walker, Vertonghen, Thingy,
Rose?
So you could say that was about more than we've got now.
Oh, here we go.
You had Dele, Ericsson, right? Son and Kane. Son and Kane were getting 40 odd goals between them. Dele got about 17 or 18 that season when we spanked Arsenal 2-0 at the Lane, and Ericsson was chipping in goals. We haven't got those goals in this team.
No.
Might have another 20 more if Werner could find a back of the net. You know what I mean? But no, I'm just saying, as a generalisation, I think Angie's doing. I think he's doing well with what he's got and trying to blend, and he's experimented as well. It's worked and it's failed, and I've critiqued him for his substitutions, for his game management. But I think overall, he's doing okay. And,
I agree.
Fredbear on the left. It's Fredbear.
I will say, Adrian, I think the biggest downfall to Angie's system, and I think this is the only tweak he kind of needs to make to see a big difference, is stop sending your wing backs up and inverted like he does. Yeah. If those wing backs just held back a little bit, that defence would, even playing the high line, that defence, had you got the 2 right wing backs, by the way, if they could defend, would be a far stronger back line than what it actually plays in now. And that's the only thing I think he really needs to tweak.
Zonal marking.
My only counter to that is when people talk about in the last season, when people have talked about 2 invert, Porro was cutting in, having shots, which is good. He's got great technique. Udogie, to me, was just ploughing up and down the left-hand side. To me, he wasn't inverted. Some people said he did it in a few games. Fair enough. This season, when people say he doesn't adapt, well, hang on. Away to Leicester in the first game, you had Son on the left, Solanke in the middle, Odegaard Johnson on the right. In the second game, Solanke's injured. So Son played through the middle, Odegaard played on the left, Johnson was on the right. And Basuma come back after his punishment. And then in the third game against Newcastle, Decky played through the middle. And Son was on the left, Johnson was on the right. And switched to midfield, right? And Decky's now been moved into midfield after so many games. And Gray doesn't go bombing on, right? Down the flanks like a Porro might. He doesn't. I mean, I've seen tweaks. I've seen adapt. I've seen him adapt. Others say to me he hasn't. I mean, well, fair enough. I mean, that's my opinion. I've got a different perspective to them. That's all.
I think he does adapt, and I think when you look at Gray, for your instance, there he does bomb forward, and especially more when he's playing on the right than he does on the left. But he certainly goes forward quite a lot, and he does pack into midfield. And I would say he inverts far more than what the other two do. But to me, yeah, I agree with you. He has adapted because of having to change his players. But defensively, that's where I think most of our problems come, because we kind of always leave it that it's almost as if when Van der Ven's playing, he's the only one that's defending because of his pace, because Porro's up front, Romero's up front, and Udogi's coming back out of shape. So if all he has to do is slightly hold his back four and allow his midfield and his front three to do the attacking, and you would see a massive difference.
This season, it's been mainly 3-4-3 or 4-3-3 at the stadium. When you're looking at the patterns of play, when have any of you seen him with two at the back like last season, like against Chelsea?
Well, I saw it last night.
He had a bunch of midfielders last night, didn't he? Because he had Kulusevski. We put in Bentancur, but they took out Brennan Johnson, and they took out who was on the other side? Who am I thinking of? They took out our two wingers, and they brought in two midfielders. I didn't know what was the lineup after Kulusevski and Bentancur came in.
Spaghetti.
Yeah.
It shored them up a bit, didn't it, when subs
Son, yeah. He took Son and Brendan Johnson's off.
Yeah.
And we were better. And we were better.
And we were better.
The difference between Poch and Ange is under Poch we played attacking football like we do now, but we were a million times more solid at the back. A million times. Like, we had the best, not only, well, I'm amazed we never won the league, but which is another discussion. The 2 years when we finished third and second, we should have won both of them. But there's
we had Walker and Rose.
Yeah.
True.
But the thing is, we had the best attack, and we had the bloody tightest defense as well, which is the first time in my history I've ever been able to say that. Because Tottenham, throughout the years that I've been supporting them, they've always had the glory flair players like your Hoddles, your Gazas, and all that. But our defence has always been pants.
Okay. I'll give you a fact on Potts, because I know this.
Just jump in quickly here, Adrian. I'm going to have to go, so I just want to say 3-1 on Sunday. Come on, you Spurs.
All right. Potts was at the club 5.5 seasons, right? He got through 36 players while he was at the club.
Yeah.
Right? How well did he do in his first season?
He was
Not
sort of
great.
He was sort of meh, wasn't he?
Do you remember we had to win that game at Aston Villa for him to save the God? I think Kane got the bent free kick, hit the wall, and went in the net. I think it was
a deflected one, wasn't it?
Right. He didn't start off great in his first season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you got to look at it. Okay, Ange's had one season. This is what gets me. Is that, to me, you see, I'm old school. It's lack of patience, really. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I just think you got to give a manager time. I think every manager should be given 2 seasons, unless they're a Nuno, unless you can tell they're really absolutely dog, right?
But a lot of that, Adrian, he's brought it upon himself by saying, "I always win stuff in the second year." But he's brought it upon himself.
No, what you said. This is again. You see, we're getting a lot of this from people that might not like Andrew's style of football, misquoting him. He said, "I've always won something in my second season." He doesn't say I'm always going to win. He hasn't said I'm going to win something in this season. I hope he does. We all do. But I mean, like, he hasn't said that. There's a lot of misquoting. It's usually for people who've got a different agenda, right? If you're going to critique the guy, that's fair enough. but at least be fair with the critique. Is Jose? Hello, let's get him on. Hello, mate. How you doing? Still got your legs? You ain't broke your leg, no?
Am I on? Hold on, let me. Am I? Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Good
How are you?
evening, FA.
Hello. Hello, Alan. Mark.
Hello.
Yes.
How are you? ¿Cómo
El
estás?
Vasco. Bit tired. I tell you what, my age ain't half catching up with me. Fuck
You look
hell.
worn out, Jose.
I am knackered. God. But there we
Good
go.
to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Did you win?
No, we lost 4-2.
Yeah.
But it's still all right. It's still a runabout in it. But yeah, I'm getting old.
Sack the manager then. Sack the manager, Jose. That's the only option.
We
So how
were
are
just
you, boys?
talking about Ange this season. I'll put this up, Jose. You know, he's dropped 2% because we lost to Galatasaray, but his win ratio's decent. It's decent. Don't care what anyone says. And the other managers all had Harry Kane, didn't they? Like, you know, so you can read into it what you want, really. You know, but I think he's done okay. I think the criticism's a bit over the top. I get it. If we were to lose Sunday, there'll be a meltdown. I get all that, but I'd still stick with him. We're in cup competitions. Nothing's really going to let them on, you know.
See, my thoughts, just to throw, I'm going to throw my 2 pennies in there, right? Is that everybody supports the club, right? There's no fan supporter that doesn't support the club. We all support Tottenham Hotspur. However, with supporting Tottenham Hotspur, we all come from it at a starting point, i.e., a foundation point. So it's like building a house, a foundation. Some people build from that foundation, or their expectation is a 1-bedroom flat. Some people from the foundation, their expectation is a 3-bedroom house. So, you know, everyone has got different expectations and different thoughts and opinions. There are a lot of people that I believe, and I might be wrong, but I believe there are a lot of people that their foundation and starting point with Ange as a manager was that he wasn't good enough when he was appointed at Tottenham. And for him not being good enough, it doesn't matter what Ange doesn't do, or whatever. Then they're gonna, you know, it's Ange out. Whatever happens, it's Ange out. Even if you win a game, it's still Ange out. They're still not convinced. It's still Ange out. And there are some people that are prepared to let it ride and see what happens, so to speak. But everyone supports the club, whether you're Ange in, Ange out, this player in, this player out, board in, board out. I still believe that everybody supports the club. It's just that everyone's starting point is different. We don't all share the same starting point. And, you know, so at the end of the day, I keep hearing stories from people saying things like, you know, it's the Levy apologists that are ruining this club. No one's a Levy apologist. People just come from it at different foundations. We all support the club. We all want we all want the club to do well, and you know, we've all got opinions, and I respect that everyone's got opinions. So you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But like I said, people have got their foundation and their starting point, and they will make their decisions from there.
I disagree with Ben here because I mean, and respectfully disagree, simply because how many times have we played badly this season? You got the Coventry away, you got the Palace, you got the second half against Brighton, and you can say yesterday, right? We were the better team at Newcastle, the better team at Leicester. We've had most percentage football playing most games. That is not playing bad football.
Percentage don't win you football matches.
And they had Harry Kane, and I will bring it up because it's a valid point. It's a valid point.
Percentage.
And Jose, when he came into this club, apart from knifing Poch in the back, saying to Levy, I can get a better tune out of these players, and he was given 7 players. All right, they might not have been the best, right? But his record's worse than Ange's, right? Which says it all. He's on a decline, right? Conte, cut and run. I didn't like any of them managers. I knew it was going badly with both of them, right? They're egocentric managers, and no manager's bigger than the club, my club and my team anyway. And that's what they were. I never wanted either of them in the first place. I knew what would happen. I realise other fans like them, think the sun shines out their rear ends. That's fine. That's their opinion.
At the same time, Adrian,
Yeah.
what Ben was saying is some of the games Ange dished up this season is worse than anything Jose and Conte did, right?
Yeah.
But ain't that down to like the players playing on the fucking pitch?
Yeah, and
Some of the games have been piss poor playing.
Yeah, and a lot of it as well, percentage. possession percentages do not win you football games, i.e. the Newcastle one, when we played that suicide high line stuff and they were in easily. This is why I critique him so much. I'm not Ange out. I've said this earlier. I'm not Ange out, but I just want him to play sensibly, like I thought he'd done when we beat Aston Villa and we beat Man City, where the line was dropped a bit. So there's none of these last-minute blooming lunges from Van der Ven and that what's happened to him. He's out now because he's ripped his hamstring again. You know, there's no need of any of that.
Mark, just come and
makes
sit
a
on the
good point.
confused
I mean,
bench with me, mate. It's easier.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, the next European game, I'm expecting Archie Gray to start in goal because that's about the only position he hasn't played.
The buck will stop with Ange at the end of this season or whatever, right? But, you know, I agree with Johnny. I mean, like, the players, they always get away scot-free when there's always a manager at any other club gets going, like, because the squad's more expensive than it is to get rid of the manager, you know, rather than get rid of the players. But the players in some of these games, they need to look at themselves as well, you know, because they are responsible. Once they're on the pitch, it's now down to them. The manager put his trust in you and you've let him down. Simple, you know. So we'll see. We'll see.
Some of them players don't play for the shirt.
Well, then, this is another thing that gets
like who, Johnny? Sorry, Johnny.
Right?
Like who? Hold on, Johnny's saying something that who don't play with a shirt? Do you believe, Johnny?
Undogi, Maddison, Richarlison, Romero. Who else? Oh, off the top of my head. I think that's about it, really. No,
you've given us 4. That's enough, I think.
I mean, guys, question for you. What's your take on leaders? I'll give you mine to start off with. When people say they come up, because I get fans, they're desperate. When things go wrong, they're desperate for solutions, to find things. Oh, it's like there's not enough leaders on the pitch. You know, need to motivate the players. My attitude has always been, as a Spurs fan, you're paying for us. You're getting paid a fortune. You're all going to be millionaires. If you can't motivate yourself on the pitch, get out of my club. Get out. Oh, that's my attitude with me. I've got zero tolerance for that. It's not about leaders. It's about you going out there and doing your job.
Yeah.
Right? Why should someone have to cajole you into improving? We've all had bosses. You know, my boss wouldn't have, when I was running sites, he wouldn't tolerate anything. He didn't want to hear anything negative at all. Your job, get on with it, do it, right?
Do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, like this leadership, and you know, leaders on the field nowadays, they're not what they were in the past. You know,
no, that's just the culture of today's society, though, isn't it? You know, that's a totally different. Some of these kids, they get paid so much money, and they go on the pitch and win, lose or draw, they still get paid. It's not like they're getting.
It may even be a psychological thing. Once that player gets that fat contract and he's made for life, the hunger might just go, if there was any there in the first place, you know?
Yeah, there's no hunger, is it? It's not like old football no more, is it?
No. No.
You know, it's all stereotypical robot. Let's stand in one place, and you know, it does my bollocks in sometimes.
Well, you got to remember, like, especially when I started going to watch football when I was a kid, and that, a lot of those players were earning basically what your dad would be earning, or maybe a little bit more. They certainly want like a million times more, more than
the average wage.
Yeah. You know, I mean, Jimmy Greaves and great players like that certainly never became like ultra rich through playing football.
No, did
definitely
players,
not.
did they? You know
No.
Well, the money wasn't in the game back in those days, was it?
Well, this is why a lot of the 80s players are still knocking about doing bloody talks and
commentary,
meetups and commentary, and you know, because they're not made for life just by playing football.
And Spurs nearly went bust in 1991 before we won that FA Cup final. We're in danger of going bust.
I'm not going to ask who lifted that, by the way. I'm not going to ask that.
Alan, what's the temperature where you are, mate?
Today it is 72.
That's why you're wrapped up. I'm glad we don't get the weather you're expecting. I hope we don't get the weather you're expecting.
Yeah, but no, I can see rays of sunshine behind him, and
Oh yeah, completely blue.
Yeah, we never got no rays of sunshine today. Let me tell you, we haven't had a ray of sunshine for ages. Look,
That's beautiful.
There you. That's what I'm saying. I think I might want to swap places with you, Al.
Are there any more questions in the chat, Mark?
What the?
Are there any more questions in the chat?
No. Was 72 an old money?
Well,
20?
Let me check.
25?
No, not as much as 25.
Well, we can talk about this in the back room, guys. We've been going for 2 hours.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. There's just one more comment that Ben's put in.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what he was, Chivs. He's still about, though. He's still about.
Flipping out. Yeah, well, there we go. That just proves that the money was not in the football.
So, have you guys? Obviously, you guys must have talked about last night's game, didn't you?
Yeah.
We did.
I just found it interesting that he took off Sonny and Brennan Johnson at halftime.
Yeah.
And for that, it's because they were ineffective and they weren't dropping back. They weren't dropping back to help, so he dropped them too. So the fact is, with Ange, he's not scared of taking Sonny off, and Sonny's the club captain. And he ain't scared of taking them off. Ain't the first time he's done it, but he ain't scared of making the decisions and taking them off. But apart from that, all I'm going to say is for Ange picks the team goes out to play, and from what I saw yesterday, for the first hour until we were forced to make the further changes after the sending off, we couldn't pass the ball together. We couldn't string passes at all. And Bergvall, for me, in the first half, he was playing as an auxiliary striker. He seemed to be the player that was furthest up the pitch, right beside Lancashire at most times. So therefore, we didn't have a player, because he wasn't there in the midfield. They were overloading us and playing through us because we only had Maddison and Biss there. So it was carnage for an hour, absolute carnage. And when he had to make the changes and he brought some of the first teamers on, it's a bit of we looked better because we played better, they know each other, but also a bit of them getting tired because they'd done a lot of pressing. They pressed so hard for the majority of that game, so they were bound to get tired as well. So right,
we'll end it there and I'll see you in the back room, guys. I'll play you out with this and we can chat in the back room.